One, you are. All right. Check. Checkity check.
Symbolist.
The furious fox fired 4
photon
the
torpedoes.
ragged rascal ran.
All right, I think it's working. I'm almost. I mean, hey, we're only 8 minutes late. That's actually early for us.
She sells seashells by the seashore.
That's how my parents used to see if I would call up and say, "Hey, I'm going to stay over at Chuck's house tonight." And they'd say it, and I'd have to say red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. And if I could say it, I was fine. So I always just called before I was too drunk to say it.
That's it. Yeah.
You just record it on your phone. You go, "Hey, mom, this is red leather, leather."
Barnacules. I was pre phones.
Yeah.
Right.
Aluminium.
Oh, I forgot. Okay, I forgot. When you said call your parents, you might go start a fire and put a blanket over it and go, "Oh,
yes.
Yes.
I mean, I'd like to sell I'd like to send a telegram, please. Here's my 2 tuppence."
Hey, how'd they do the field sobriety tests like back in the 1800s? Like pull you over on your horse or whatever, be like, bro, you look like you've had too many. Like
they would just pull you over and beat you. Basically, that was.
Is that how they did it? They just guilty until assumed innocent, and they just beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, that's it. Well, the cops were all, you're not a witch. Yeah, all the bobbies were drunker than the people driving, anyways. Yeah,
I remember reading something about a guy got out of a DUI because they caught him like wicked drunk on his horse, and the horse was going home, and he claimed that like I wasn't in control. The horse knows the way, so you can't get me for DUI because I wasn't actually like in control of the horse, and like I'm pretty sure that's like he got off.
Is that going to work on Teslas now?
Right?
I know, right? Like, hey, bro, autopilot was clearly engaged. Check the logs.
No, some folk have been gotten in trouble for sleeping. So, like, I think because I think for like a car, you still have to be like within. You have to have your faculties about you to like intervene.
And legally, they don't want to take the responsibility of all of your driving. So
yeah. Well, technically, with autopilot, you're still like legally in most jurisdictions have to have your hands on the wheel.
Yeah,
even though you can take your hand off the wheel with the Tesla for like I think it's like 30 seconds or something before it nags you to touch the wheel again. You still are required like by law to like hold that wheel. You're not supposed to let go of it because you're supposed to have full control of the car at all times, and it's not the car's job to have control of the car.
If it's full autonomous, in a way, you don't want a wheel. Like you want to get to the point. Like if the car's doing the driving, then no one should be able to. It should just be the car doing the driving. Like
that's that's the holy grail, though, right? Is the level 5 driving? That's the thing that everybody's saying.
So they call it level 5.
Yeah, level 5. I think like what is Tesla like? Level like 3 point something. Level 5 is completely autonomous. That's where the car actually makes all the decisions down to super granular ones. Like if some crackhead steers into your lane and it's got to make the split-second decision of hit the busload of children or kill the little granny in the sidewalk, it'll make that decision confidently. So that's like full level 5 autonomy, but it's like what company is going to want to take the liability for that? That's why I don't think
who would have ever thought that the cart, that whole cart theory, that whole philosophy, the cart philosophy stuff would all of a sudden it's no longer just a thought process. It's actually something they've got to figure out. Do you make the switch and kill the 10 kids, or do you kill the grown-ups or the old people or people who own the same car as you or people who don't own other cars?
It's the same concept my dad put into my head was aim for something cheap.
Yep, there you go. That's with your insurance. Aim for, if you're gonna hit a Mercedes or a fence, go for the Mercedes. If you're gonna hit the fence or hit like a Honda Civic that's rusted out, aim for the Civic.
Yeah.
See, the problem with the full autonomy though, making that decision is that puts the liability on the creator of the object, not the person operating it. And they would rather, like, even though Tesla Autopilot, there's less incidents with Tesla Autopilot than there is any other manufacturer's car just driven by a human. Like they've already got a better driving record under autopilot from their own logs than they do from human drivers for reaction time and stopping and stuff. But there's still accidents and people still unfortunately do die. And because of that, they're like, you know what? We would rather have humans just keep driving and kill more people overall, but have the individual responsibility distributed throughout all those people than us taking all the responsibility from every accident even if it saved more lives. It doesn't matter because at that point, the liability.
People are still going to do stupid things even when there's autopilot. They're still going to do what they can. Well, and here's the other question is, what do you do? This is something I'm just not sure how to do. I thought maybe you could randomly knock people over, but what do you do if people step out in front of an autonomous vehicle? When we're all autonomous, all of a sudden a pedestrian steps out in front. What do you do? Just like the people be causing chaos, just stepping out in front of stuff all the time.
There's actually a really funny video.
It could be like a random number where like one in 1,000, it just mows them down.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the Tesla trolling videos on YouTube?
No.
So there's just do a search for there's Tesla trolling and Tesla bullying. And what it is Teslas won't let you run into objects. So if you see a Tesla, you can actually pull in front of it on the freeway. Even if autopilot's not engaged, it doesn't matter. If you pull in front of the Tesla and start putting on the brake, the Tesla behind you will brake check. Because the radar will detect it and slam on the brakes. So there's this Tesla bullying thing where people will pull in front of Teslas on the freeway and just grenade the brakes, and the Tesla behind them will lock up the brakes, and then they keep going. And they can keep causing instead of the Tesla changing lanes to avoid it, it'll just keep following it and just keep brake checking it over and over and over again. There's also another video where a guy actually goes in front of a Tesla. He walks up to the bumper and he gets it to back up. He gets the Tesla actually backs up away from him as he's walking in like a super mall like in a parking lot while the person's in the car, and it backs him out of the space. You're like, what the hell? Pretty good. Because the Tesla has all these situations where they're like, oh, if I identify a person, because it can identify a person from an inanimate object, but if it sees that it's about to hit a person or a person is heading towards it on a bike, it tries to avoid it any way it can.
Right.
Like, so you could theoretically get the car to damage itself if you put it in the right situation and you controlled that situation. You could get somebody to damage their car without touching any of the control surfaces in the car at all.
Well, you know, they're going to get people are going to be like pushing the limits that the whole time, aren't they?
Oh, totally, dude. Totally. Anytime you see something like this, it's like those guys that like figured out how to like shut down the ECU and like the Jeep Cherokee or whatever it was, and they're like driving down the freeway just like EMPing people. Hey, iCage, thank you for the $5 or £5, is it? Thank you for the £5
already.
Yeah, we already get money. Look at this. The Tesla S Plaid is a bit out of my budget, but test driving the Model 3 on Monday. Enjoy my monies. We will enjoy your monies. Thank you for that. It's enjoy my monies for the weekly content. Dude, you are awesome. We do appreciate that support. We survive by your hand. True. Dude, have you seen the freaking Tesla?
I survive by your attention.
There you go. So David, when are you gonna get a Tesla Plaid edition with all your acting millions, bro?
Baz has been bugging me about a Tesla. I'm like, dude, do you have any idea how expensive those are? Like, I
do like, kind of want a Tesla 3. Like the cheap
I would love a
Tesla,
but they're just too expensive.
I mean, the 3 is what, 35 to 45. It's not bad.
Yeah,
it's
I think realistically, you're going to be
luxury mid-size sedan. Yeah.
Like
you pay that for a Mercedes.
I don't know. We don't have a car, so
I want the Plaid. I want a Plaid edition before I die. Have you seen?
I don't think I've seen the Plaid. Is it literally Plaid?
No, it's got a Plaid logo
like
on the back of it
or something.
It's got like you know the Spaceballs and they go Plaid, ludicrous speed, and then they hit Plaid. So it's that same graphic, and that's the logo on the back. I think the graphic looks stupid personally. Like I get the joke, but I think it looks stupid. But the car itself is so fast that I think it's like about 150,000. I think for the Model 3 or the Model S ludicrous version, like the fastest one Tesla makes. I think it's like about 150 grand all said and done, and that car will beat everything. There is nothing on the road that will beat that in the quarter mile. Like not even by a little bit. Like I watched a video of it racing a Bugatti Chiron. I watched a video of it racing like a McLaren 768 LT or whatever.
It just kills it every time.
Yeah, even on a track, on a prep surface at the drag strip or whatever, it can do a 0 to 60 in I think 2.1. And it never lets up its acceleration. The old cars used to fall off in acceleration. This thing accelerates all the way to 200 miles an hour, like pinning you to your seat.
I still remember the one time Adam zoomed off in he's got the, I think his is basically like a Plaid. It's like a technically a P85D or whatever, but he's got all the cool upgrades, all the cool software upgrades, all the cool extras in it. It just has like the wrong badge, right? And you got to go through you got these crazy secret codes, and the thing lowers like 2 inches. It does all this crazy stuff. And he's like, okay, you got to like pump the brake 3 times while holding this button down. And then you flip a toggle and like to put it into like super mode, right? Ludicrous mode. And I swear I have never, and like, I've been in Jerry's car launching quick too. Never. And like, I've been on roller coasters that launch you fast, like all kinds of stuff. Nothing has accelerated or given me that same kind of feeling like that Tesla So from the parking lot of Puget Systems to the closest intersection is probably a little over a quarter mile, but not quite a half. And we were easily doing 100 miles an hour before we got to the light.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. His is not
3 seconds.
His isn't a standard Luda though. His was like a pony car for not Hennessy. What was the other company? There was a company that was doing a partnership with Tesla. He was he did a technology demo package on his car that I don't think ever went to market. I don't think they ever. I mean, that's why I know
he's got special software upgrades.
Yeah, it's like well, it's got, I think, the motor in the back, just the electric motor in the back, 700 horsepower. In that car, that's not including the front motor, which is like another 300 or something like that. It's ridiculous.
It's pure torque. Like I imagine that's what it feels like to be like in a rocket.
Yeah, it hurts. It's uncomfortable.
Like
it pulls
sucks
so hard.
you from the very center of your gut, and it's
like
it's just a pure curve.
Every time he launches that thing, I go like you can't help it. It just squeezes you.
Oh, so clear.
Yeah, no. If you ever get the chance, David, to like do a launch in like one of those Tesla, even the ludicrous edition, like the Plaid step beyond that, it's oh my god, it's crazy. Just the raw.
It's not about not wanting it. I love it. I just there's really exciting things like roofs to pay for.
That is true. That is true. It is kind of expensive. That's why I let all my friends buy the cool stuff, and I just come over and play with it. So we even shot a video in Adam's car. We had to take down. We had a video of his car after it got all that crazy upgrades, but Tesla made us take it down because people were like timing the frames on 0 to 60, and they could figure out that the car had a bigger battery pack than anything Tesla sold and different motors than anything. Like there's so many little little scientists on the internet that they were able to figure this out. So people like media started calling Tesla and going, "Oh, there's a video on the internet showing the car do 0 to 60 in like 2.2 seconds or something like that." And they're like, "Oh shit." So they shut us down right away. We had to take the video down. And so I was kind of sad about that because it was a really good video. It was like we just kept like launching it, like squatting the back end of the car and just like letting it rip over and over and over again. And it's just mind-blowingly fast. But the funny thing is, like when you look at it money-wise, it's like Teslas are really expensive. But like a Bugatti Chiron's like $3 million, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Like some of these McLarens, $1.5-2 million for like a P0 or P1 or whatever. Ferrari's brand new car they just came out with, it's like 1,000 horsepower, gets its ass completely spanked by this thing on prepped and unprepped surface. So even at a racetrack where they're putting like the DDT or whatever it is, not DDT, that's that fucking thing they spray on crops. Anyways, they put down that spray,
poison as many people as possible.
Yeah, try to kill everybody at the racetrack. But if the exhaust don't kill them, the DDT will. But they spray it on there and they make it like glue. They put like glue on the track to make the cars hook as fast as humanly possible, and still the Tesla just owns them.
Yeah,
absolutely owns them.
Somebody commented that the LaFerrari is faster, and according to Wikipedia, at least, no, it's not.
There's no way the LaFerrari is going to be that.
And the fact that this is even a debate at those difference in prices is like ridiculous.
So Wikipedia claims a 0 to 100 kilometers, so 0 to 62 in under 3 seconds. The Tesla, even before the Plaid one, the Tesla P100D Ludicrous will do 0 to 60 in under 2.
Yep.
So no,
that's insane.
I bet actually.
Well, the under 2 is kind of a bullshit number. Like I watched a physicist guy go through it. It's like it has to break friction first, and then it will do it.
Right.
Which technically isn't from a dig. From a dig, it'll do 2.1 though. Right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But it'll still 2.1 is still from a dig. But that's the thing. That's 0 to 60. The Tesla keeps accelerating with no fall off. The LaFerrari doesn't.
Because it's an electric engine, right? I mean, it's just there's no. It's electric. It makes the complete difference.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
and they fixed the problem with the fall off. That like Adam's Tesla, once it gets to about like 120, it starts falling off, but not much. It's still pulling the new one pulls like that all the way to 200. Like the new Tesla will pin you with like the.
When will you ever use that? Like when will that ever be possible to use?
Well, when you have a car that can do that in like a quarter mile, like all the time.
Yeah,
like the answer is like every single stoplight, like every parking lot. And the cool thing is, like, the cops never hassle you because your car doesn't sound fast. All they see is, that's it.
Right.
You know,
just
it's like
breeze going by.
I never see Teslas pulled over. As many as there are on the street, you'd think that you'd see one pulled over every once in a while. Have you ever seen a Tesla pulled over? I've never seen it pulled over. I don't think cops care because they don't make noise.
I don't think I've ever seen one. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they get pulled over because they just don't make enough noise. They don't annoy people. People don't call the cops.
I see them getting tickets all the time.
Ferrari is a hybrid as well. It's got a monster V12.
Yeah, so's the new car that's actually faster than the LaFerrari. Was it F8 and the P90? They're both technically faster.
I think I would go hybrid at this point. Because of our winters, I don't know. Like
sure.
I feel like I want that
range anxiety.
That is actually a thing because like I remember I think it was at the last ADX LAN or at one Adam you got to warm it up. Like you push a button and you got to wait a few minutes for the battery to warm up.
Like, yeah, even if you're not,
mode, or you get bad mileage or whatever if you just. Actually, I don't think it'll even go. It has to get up to a certain temperature, or to like keep itself warm or something like that.
And I'm one of those people. I just get nervous after the tank's half full. Like once it hits half, I start worrying. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I'm kind of with you on that one. Like, I think hybrid is probably the way to go still for a little while. But man,
I'd plug-in hybrid even better because you can plug it in at night. So you've got, if you don't want to use the gas, you don't use the gas. But honestly, I think the gas is probably cleaner than some of the electricity.
Not here.
No, that's true, right?
Hydropower.
You have all these people that are like, "Oh man, I drive a Tesla, man. It's helping the environment." It's like, no, the coal power plant's having to pump in like
depending on where you are,
2 tons of coal for your car. It's like the power's got to come from somewhere.
And people would argue about hydro as well, right? Because like, look at the infrastructure required for hydro.
I mean, you start talking about like the carbon impact of like concrete and all that stuff. And
oh god,
yeah,
I started hearing about that. I was like, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Like,
I do think though, like it's like one of those like initial cost is higher, but over the lifetime it's better. Yeah, you know. Yeah. But then you start talking about like, okay, what's it cost to mine lithium for batteries? Like the environmental cost of that.
Yeah.
And then the problem is nuclear is like one of the cleaner options, like overall, but it's super expensive. Like it's just dumb prohibitively.
Did you ever see some of the? I think they were just concepts. I don't think they'd ever made it to. But in the 50s they were talking about doing nuclear.
You're just gonna hook them to the side of the house. That was the future.
Like electric. I think it was electric, but they would have little nuclear power plants in the car. Like not just Fallout. I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, oh, they did that in Fallout. But I do think that because that was inspired by actual, like, they wanted to go that way.
Well, and aren't a lot of the NASA vehicles, like, aren't they?
They use, what do they call them? Radiothermic generators or whatever. They basically just use like a thermal electric.
It's like a little blip of plutonium dying in the heat of that.
They don't generate a lot, though. I think it only generates like 90 watts or something. It's like pretty insignificant.
But they last forever.
Yeah. But if we can get things more and more efficient, then we need less and less electricity. And the next thing you know, you got a 9-volt battery driving you around. I mean, that's the hope, right?
Well, efficiency is
better batteries.
Yeah.
And then fusion.
What do you think about these hydrogen? What do you think about the hydrogen thing?
I like the idea of hydrogen. I know it's like, oh, explosive and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because gasoline isn't explosive at all.
I was going to say, when was the last time, like, well, it happens.
Haven't you seen a movie?
Your gasoline's not pressurized like 4,000 PSI either. So.
But still, I get the feeling that there has to be, there's got to be a way to do it where it's not just gas. It's not just hydrogen gas. Yeah. Like, there's got to be a way to lock it up in something else where.
What about that nanoflex thing? Is that like, legit?
Nanoflex? Ooh, what is
that? There's some kind of nanoflex tech where they're talking about like using two different
fusion,
two different fluids.
Ooh, a fusion gel.
It's like two different fluids, and it creates some kind of electricity between the two of them. And you just up until recently, the weight of them had been prohibitive, and now some crazy Italian guy with amazing hair has decided that his company could do it, and people are like not sure whether it's legit or not, but it looks kind of promising. But I can't remember what it's called, though.
I know most of the hydrogen stuff is fuel cell, where they're basically just using liquid hydrogen to transfer electrons back and forth. They're basically just using it as a battery, right? But there is a company, I think it's Toyota actually, that's working on an actual hydrogen burning motor right now. That's actually really hard to do because hydrogen explodes like a lot. There's a lot more harshness and pressure to it than there is with gasoline and an injector. Like with gasoline, you get this nice kind of like push, right? You get like this flame front that like pushes the cylinder down. With hydrogen, you just blow the whole thing to bits, right? The initial shot. But they're figuring out how to make an engine that runs on hydrogen. And if they like basically like propane, and if they can figure that out, that would be a really good option because hydrogen is like the most abundant thing in the universe. You can literally get it from salt water. It's like hook up a windmill to some electrodes and drop them into the ocean, and there you go, limitless hydrogen, right? So, I think that's probably. And the cool thing is, you burn hydrogen. What do you get? You get water vapor. That's it. There's like no byproducts, nothing bad.
That's kind of the thing. Like, is how much energy does it take to break the hydrogen out of water? Like
in large volumes, quite a bit. It takes a lot. Yeah,
I know that is a thing. You using like electrolysis or whatever. You push a current through the water and it'll break the hydrogen out. And I'm sure that's very.
You can break the bonds.
I have a little car that does that. I have like a little science experiment, and you just basically you run electricity through the water, and and it creates the hydrogen, and then it uses the hydrogen to power the car. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not. I mean, obviously, there's a loss of energy there. There has to be thermodynamics.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But still, like if you could have just a battery, like you said, like a plug-in hydrogen, and then you just fill the tank with water, and then your battery is breaking out the hydrogen to power the car. Is that weird, or would it be better to just go all battery? The problem is
we don't have the efficiency yet, so it takes more energy to get the hydrogen out than what we generate from the hydrogen.
Right. So it's using the hydrogen to charge the battery, but unfortunately, it's not enough of a.
The closest that I've seen him come to it is there's a guy who made a motorcycle that ran on water. But what he doesn't tell you, and like the thing is that he also has a separate tank you have to put this really expensive catalyst chemical into, and the catalyst chemical lowers the electrolysis, like electricity need to break the bonds by like 10,000 times, and then it becomes super efficient. But then you got to buy this expensive chemical and put it in there, and who knows what that's adding to the to the off gas. Oh wow, that's cool.
So this is it. So you pump water into it on. Is it this side?
So that's like one of those HHO fuel cell deals.
Yeah, it's really neat. And then it just powers it'll just powers a little motor at the back here. I don't remember the exact specifics of it, to be honest, at this point, but it's pretty effective. I mean, I was amazed, but as you say, I think you're constantly losing something along the way. So
at a minimum, heat, right? Like,
the problem is all the good fuels take more energy to extract than they create. Like, for instance, getting alcohol, right? Once you go through the process, biodiesel, everybody's like, oh, biodiesel is so great. And have you seen the process to make biodiesel?
I had a biodiesel car.
I thought that was a cool idea.
It smelled like
a great
French
idea,
fries.
but it takes so much energy to make it. You don't see that part. You don't see how much energy it takes. Like, now the way to properly do it is just to put the freaking grease right into your car and have a heating coil that lowers the viscosity and have injectors that can spray it, and then you can have a vehicle that just runs straight on fryer grease.
Well, people were making it at home.
Yeah,
they're making it at home. Their fuel.
That's the whole point of diesel engines. It was meant to run on just vegetable oil anyway. Like the original like demonstration for the diesel engine ran on like just peanut oil or something like that. It was supposed to be so that like farmers and stuff out in the boonies just press beans or whatever and get oil to run their motors. And even still, like you with I think you need like a certain additive or something right now. But you filter out the gunk like from the fryer at MacD's and you put in a little something to keep it from coagulating. I think you also need certain like fuel lines because like the
fuel lines
about the oil eat the rubber or
much more corrosive. Yeah. You know what the biggest problem for us was? You know the biggest problem for us was? Rats. Literally, rats will climb into your car and chew through your tube.
Oh, that's
they like tubes at the best of the time. Then you fill it with freaking peanut oil, and they're like,
they just want that stuff. They're like, oh, McKay. It's like Five Guys up in your garage all the time. Yeah, bring home Five Guys. I smell Five Guys. No, just pulled in the garage in this diesel.
Crazy stuff.
There are definitely days you could just use me for fuel.
So I've seen that Volkswagen bus that was a long time ago. There's this Volkswagen bus that drove back and forth across the country that just ran completely on fry oil. And all they did is they had like a tiny little tank of diesel that they'd start the motor on diesel, and then they'd use the heat from the motor to basically like break down the viscosity of the cooker grease through their little filtration system, and then they would switch it over to the grease once the grease was heated and the viscosity dropped. And then they would run it on that, and then they'd flip back over the diesel tank to clear out the injectors or whatever before they shut the motor down, and they were good to go. So they just started on diesel, burned just a tiny bit of diesel to get it going, and then they switch over to the vegetable oil or whatever, and it worked fine.
And like then you throw in a cod, and you got a nice fish and chips for lunch.
I think it's great, man. Just walking around hungry all the time. Hey, Devin, thank you for the $2 super chat. He said, "Common AI autopilot for poor people." What is this? So COMMAI.ai. Let's see if I can go get fished here. Oh, it won't even let me go there. Alan B. What's that?
I wish I could find this car I was talking about. This weird Italian invention.
Find him. Alan BR, thank you for the 40 rupees. He said, off topic, McAfee is dead. Yeah, did you guys hear that?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, there's a movie in that somewhere.
There will be a movie. There will be many a movie. I mean,
weird though.
Crazy life.
Like weird. Like I get, okay, they wanted to extradite him from Spain or wherever for tax fraud or something, and then he like suicides in jail like after his extradition gets approved. Like that seems
Well, he was wanted for a lot more than
but
that.
not Epstein weird. You know what
I
mean?
He's also being investigated though for like murdering his neighbor in 2012, and he's being investigated for a crypto Ponzi scheme. There was a lot of things. It wasn't just one thing.
I feel like it's not to the level of like Epstein, right? Like,
no, I don't think there were kids involved.
I imagine if dude, I'm pretty sure he did it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is one of those conspiracy things where he didn't really kill himself kind of thing. Dude was kind of weird, real kind of crazy,
really eccentric, super eccentric, and he was pushing like 76 or something like that. How old was he?
Yeah, something like that.
And I think that when he got extradited, they were going to give him 30 years. So there's no way he was going to ever see freedom again.
Wow.
And his wife even said that he couldn't face the possibility of spending his life in jail. Like, so he had already like kind of signaled to her that he was like checking out if he didn't get out. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I guess he needed to install McAfee antivirus, and he didn't too soon. That's sad. Anyways, but again, just so everybody's clear, he was being investigated for murder too.
Yeah,
of his neighbor.
He does not sound like a nice man,
and he was connected to a lot of criminal organizations. So
sounded pretty dodgy.
Yeah, he was. We're not talking about like somebody who was like a hero or something like that, right? I mean, the dude was like, he had his hand in every single cookie jar. Plus, let's not forget that what's the one entity that you don't fuck with? Like, if you don't want
the IRS,
you don't fuck with the IRS. And the dude literally tweeted like every day, come find me, IRS. Oh, I'm not paying my taxes. He turned in his taxes every year, and he'd file his taxes with one sheet of paper that says, I'm not paying my taxes again. Come get it from me. Like he literally heckled the IRS like every year.
I dig it.
And yeah, so yeah, don't like enrage.
Even the Joker doesn't mess with the IRS.
The Joker don't even mess with the IRS.
That's in the comics. He's like, I pay my taxes. Like that. Are you kidding? Or no, I think it was in the animated series. He said there's some comment about nobody messes with the IRS.
Yeah,
like that's even going too far for Joker. Hey, Brian,
all of my hacker stories are always like they get away with everything until they hack some part of the government.
Right, start messing with the government. That's when things go downhill really fast. Hey, Brian, thank you for the 10 pounds. He said Scale Electrics is better than Tesla. Isn't Scale Electric like your guys' erector set over there in the UK? Like, isn't that Scale Electrics? Is that like, or do we have that here in the United States?
Oh, what was that one? Scale, yeah, what is that?
Or is that Meccano? Am I thinking Meccano? What am I thinking? No, Scale Electrics is slot cars, right? That's like the UK.
Oh, is that? Oh man, I always loved slot cars.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah, I think we have them here now. I think Scale Electrics is here. I could have swore I've seen it. Hey, Meat Puppet, thank you for the $10. Said, is Rimac faster than the Tesla? On paper, technically, but I have not seen it.
Is that the new truck thing?
No, the Rimac is a Croatian car company. I believe it's the only Croatian car company. Cool. And they manufactured a car from the ground up that's 100% inbuilt parts, like everything in it, down to the gauges, everything. They're trying to do like Koenigsegg did, but for an electric car. And they created a car that basically has like 2,000 horsepower. It's like 1,800 to 2,000 horsepower equivalent. It weighs less than the Tesla. Yeah, it's supposed to. All the specs say that it should be faster than the Tesla, but nobody's seen like any real numbers to support that.
It has to exist first, right? Like it has to be a physical model or something. Like does it actually?
Well, no, they have one. They have one that they're actually letting reviewers drive it. Like a couple automotive publicists have already taken it out for a spin and said that it's absolutely just like mind-bendingly fast. But nobody's actually tested it like and got the actual numbers like on a prep surface next to say like a Tesla.
Damn, that thing looks cool.
It is neat. Wow. It is a super neat car, but it's also like what, like $3 million or something like that. It's up there.
Navara.
Yeah,
dude, that is.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's not the C2. It's the Navara now. They finally gave it a name.
Whoa.
No, it's a killer looking car. It has a individual motor on each wheel. Instead of the Tesla where they have like a central motor that shares the gearbox across, this is a motor on each 500 horsepower motor on each wheel, basically.
Man, high five to Croatia, man. Boom, high fives to those guys. That's cool.
Yeah, and every person that's driven it so far says that even their prototype, that's like they say it's like 90% there. Like the production car is right around the corner. They say that it drives really nice. It's super performance, very direct steering, like. So, but again, you're talking about a $3 million car versus 150. And I bet you still go to the drag track, and I bet you even if the Tesla Plaid edition gets beat by it, it's going to be like by half a car length. It's not going to be by like anything super significant.
Yeah.
But you'd look cooler in the Rimac. You definitely would look cooler in the Rimac.
I like hearing about like tiny countries doing cool shit like that,
right?
You know, because like I bet. Oh man, somebody heard the word Croatia and they're like, oh, that's like, you know, Eastern Bloc, like
third world. They used to say that about China too. Remember?
Right? Yeah. That's a point, man. Americans have a whack view of the rest of the world. Everybody thinks like Africa is like just a bunch of tiki huts and guys eating bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
And man, Egypt, Kenya, Jordan, all those, like especially North Africa, is actually pretty poppin' spots. They are very modern, very like up there.
Williams said, unfortunately, Rimac is Richard Hammond safe.
Oh yeah, you guys were all talking about it. He crashed it.
Oh no!
Yeah,
you rolled that thing over, and it was like on. I don't know how Richard Hammond isn't dead. I mean, I'm glad Hamster isn't dead. I love him. He's one of my favorite characters. But that sumbitch has been in more car accidents on that show. How can they even insure him?
Motorcycle? Like, I know he crashed his motorcycle a few times.
He flipped a dragster over, and it like dug his head into the ground. He almost died from that. He rolled the Rimac, and it literally bursted into flames and was like burning for like 2 days after they got him out of the car. And I think he walked away with like a broken leg and a concussion. I've seen him on countless other accidents, smashing into stuff, trying to keep up with Jeremy and stuff. Like he has no fear. Yeah. He's one of those guys that just gets in a car. Like they put him in a rocket car and they're like, yeah, just pin this button down and go. And he's going like 300 miles an hour and like flips the thing over in the dirt. It's like, and that was like on his third or fourth run. Like he had a bunch of successful runs. He could have just walked away and been like, but he's like, nah, I gotta get one more. That guy pushes limits. But Koenigsegg is another great example of a car company that doesn't make any sense. Koenigsegg makes some of the fastest cars in the world. As a matter of fact, they held the top like speed record and they get us. What's that?
But they make like 3, and that's it. And they don't.
That's true.
They don't.
That's true.
Make
they make like one model. Like, oh, you mean the concept, the number?
Yeah. They make like 3 cars, and then that's it. And then they move on to something
check
else.
This out, though. This is the funny thing is, even though they only make like, well, now they make a little bit bigger numbers. I think they make like 150 or 200 cars of each run, but still
probably to meet the production
homologation
limit. Yep. Right.
That's how they're able to be. The one of their claims to fame is that they're legal in every country. In the world. They go through all the testing and all the money and stuff. Even with building that few cars, they do that. But the thing is, they're in Sweden. As far as I know, Sweden has like the worst speeding laws on planet Earth. like Sweden, like if you, like they do average speed cameras like everywhere, and if you go like 1 mile over the speed limit or whatever, you like lose your damn license. Like they're really strict about speed there. And you have a company building a car that does like 280 miles an hour. Isn't that weird? Like the country that builds like one of the fastest cars in the world that held a world record. It's a street legal car. It's not even just a race car. It's literally a street legal car in a country where you can't speed. Isn't that weird? And then Croatia builds this like electric car. It's like, does Croatia even have a power plant that can charge that thing? Like, it's so weird. It's so weird to see this, but I think it's cool. I think it's really cool because it gives competition to these other guys that got really complacent.
And that's what you want. That's just going to bring the cost down too, right? I wish I could find this. I'm going to have to find, I guess I must have it tabbed on another.
Yeah, link us if you find it later.
Because it's these 2 systems of kind of like suspended particles in fluids or something, and it's somehow the difference causes an electrical charge of some sort.
Well, you're not talking about flow batteries, are you?
Maybe it's flow. It may be flow
where they fill like one liquid
that's
tank.
It's nano flow tech. That's what it is. Nano flow tech.
Yeah, those are actually really cool. They're kind of heavy though. I don't know if they'd work really well in a vehicle.
Well, apparently this Italian guy has come up with one that actually works.
Oh, well, he's calling it nano flow, right? So it probably implies it's smaller because regular flow batteries are massive. But if weight isn't a concern, they're absolutely fantastic batteries because you're literally just pumping fluid between tanks. That's like how the whole battery works. It's just like you fill one tank with fluid and it transfers the fluid with the pump into the other tank. And through that process of transferring the fluid, it generates a bunch of electricity. It's really weird. I don't really understand exactly how it works, but apparently they're super reliable. They don't degrade.
Yeah. I'm seeing some stuff talking about like for storage, vanadium redox batteries, flow batteries.
That's the one. That's the new Italian guy. I think
they're talking about in large quantities. We're talking like you put these. They're big. They look big. Yeah. The pictures at least.
It's the Quant. I think it's called the Quant. Like, I believe
they're putting a lot of it in. They're showing it like next to solar farms and stuff to.
Yeah. That's what flow batteries are usually used for.
I think
that's cool though. That's a big problem, right? Like we can generate gobs of energy, but what do you do with it? Like,
all right, here you go. I'm gonna put it in the. I'll put it in the chat.
Do it.
See, man,
The flow batteries have a lot of the downside, of course, is the weight and the size of them. But the upside is they don't lose any power over time. Like as long as you're not transferring the fluid, it holds its electrolyte. It's just the power is there, right? Yeah. And they don't degrade. If you can cycle them hundreds of thousands of times, they don't degrade. Lithium batteries, you can't hold long-term storage, and you can't, and they wear out, and you have to replace them. So the flow batteries are really super reliable. They're cheaper and all this, but they're just incredibly huge and heavy.
Well, look at that link. Yeah. Look at that link, because if they've got this down, then this could be the way to go. They've upped the efficiency to such an extent that they can make it car size. But what's funny is the car gets faster and more fuel efficient the longer it goes, right? Because you start with these two massive tanks, and it just gets faster and faster and faster as the car gets lighter and lighter and lighter.
Yeah, that's fun. Neat. Yeah. Okay, so.
Thank God. Why was NanoFlex? Where did I get NanoFlex?
It's close.
From?
NanoFlow Flex. It's close.
I went to Stargate with it.
I googled NanoFlex and it's like
is this consuming the fuel? Like you have to refill
NanoFlex is like a tonenail thing.
Yeah, that's what I ended up finding. Yeah,
the best toenail.
Let's see here. Okay.
What's going on here?
Yeah, that's just talking about that part. Let's see here. Delivering a flow cell technology allows for extreme performance.
Arclight, I have not got your email. My God, there's so many emails. I keep saying the number of people in the chat who say, if you got my email, I'm like, I got to check my spam. I have a feeling I've got a lot of spam. It's my guess.
Oh, so it's saying it can go over 1,000 kilometers on a tank.
This is what it's, and they've done a test run of some sort. Look at you. I've just geeked you both out.
The problem is it consumes it though. That's the problem, is that it's consuming it. Like with a flow battery, it's like you put the electricity and you move the fuel from one tank to the other, and it just keeps transferring back and forth. With this, you still have some kind of exhaust,
something you're putting
right. You're exhausting something out of this thing. I just don't know what it is.
Something. Yeah, I got to figure out, because they're not really explaining like what it is.
They're not explaining any of the tech. That's the thing. That's why people are very skeptical. Right?
Six flow cells working simultaneously to generate more drive power by maximizing discharging capacity for bi-ion electrolytes.
So it's just a flow battery.
It's a flow battery.
And you plug into the gas tank with two nozzles.
It's because one is taking the old fuel out and one is putting the new fuel in.
Oh, is it?
It's got to be, because if it's a flow battery, they have to replace the electrolyte. So it wouldn't come out. It wouldn't like dissipate or get burned. So I'm curious.
All right. So this is the stuff. This is what everyone's trying to figure out here. Let's see.
Yeah, that's what I did. I looked up nano flow cell, and then I was gone for like 2 hours, and I was just like, I still don't quite understand. And part of it is still in that stage where they're like, "Whoa, patent pending. We can't tell you what's going on." Which is either really cool, or is someone just going like, yeah, there's a dozen hamsters in the back keeping the thing going.
Bi-ion is a liquid energy storage medium with an energy density comparable to that of the very latest lithium-ion batteries. Yet, in contrast to these, it is also thermally safe and environmentally compatible.
Right.
I mean, I can say that about.
I would say everything's environmentally compatible. It depends whether
it came from the environment originally.
From a destructional standpoint.
I mean, you can literally argue that like gasoline that came out of the ground is completely like organic. It came from the planet, man.
It's environmentally compatible in that it's compatible with destroying the environment.
Everything used to make this fuel came out of the ground. You could actually say that, right? It's like every piece of machinery and every single thing that you used.
These cigarettes are all natural. As you're still inhaling them into your lungs like you're not supposed to. So
totally. Yeah. It's all organic, bro.
Cancer is also very natural. Yeah.
All right. So this car kind of seems like I'd have to see more. This looks kind of like just, like concept, this is what theoretically under the best case scenario could happen.
I'm a sci-fi nerd. I fall for all of these. I'm like, that's it. We're saved.
It's kind of a neat looking car though. Like I think it's a neat concepts never look like the original though.
Yeah. They have to make these prototypes look so cool to get people excited about it. Like if they put out a 4-door, station wagon, that actually makes sense. If somebody
figures out how this works, like let us know in chat, because I'm still just kind of looking at this and I'm like, okay, it's flow batteries. Then why the hell do you have to change out the electrolyte every 1,000 miles? Like, it's got to be some special electrolyte, because like a standard flow battery you can cycle like 1,000,000 times without replacing the electrolyte. So
the bi-ion stuff, they're saying like the electrolyte is not common salt water as commonly stated in several internet forums, but the electrolyte solution bi-ion consists of a conductive liquid, organic and inorganic salts dissolved in water, and the electrolytes themselves, nanostructured molecules, which are specific molecules designed by Nano Flow Cell Holdings Limited, While dissolved redox salts are responsible for the energy transfer in conventional redox flow batteries, the bi-ion electrolyte is an energy storage medium whose suspended nanoparticles permit a considerably higher energy density than regular redox electrolyte fluids. But that sounds like something that sounds like marketing
waste
talk.
product.
That's not
there must be some kind of a waste product, right?
Yeah.
There has to be. If you have to refill the tank on this thing and it's got like, a flip up nozzle and you got to go up to a fueling station to refuel it. And it says it only goes 1,000 miles on a tank. So obviously, or 1,000 kilometers, not even 1,000 miles. So you are having to like change out the fluid that's in the car.
Yeah. Then there's talk about like, okay, so the Quant 48 volt delivers 560 kilowatts at 48 volts with 140 kilowatts going to each motor. And then it continues to say, this means the current going to each motor is equal to 2,917 amps, which would heat up the cables dramatically. Porsche, by comparison, saved 66 pounds on the Taycan by going from 400 volts to 800 volts, and is able to keep the motors cooler by going to higher voltages with greatly reduced currents. So it's like,
people are saying like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense.
There's some, there's a
couple of physics guys going like,
because like even the founder of this company apparently, it goes on to say, does not have any formal education in engineering or similar background and has bought a PhD title, and he's been previously
where do I buy one?
Previously accused with defrauding an old lady by having her invest in non-existing solar panel technology.
This guy, by chance, was he mentored?
I'm like that little old lady on the internet. I just got sucked in.
I mean,
was he mentored by John DeLorean though? Like that's what I'm thinking.
And look at Elon Musk. I mean, if you looked at his,
the concept is sound. It's talking about how like there've been several R&D institutes in the U.S. that say like this is a thing that can be. The Europeans have kind of on it, but the Americans are like, yo, this sounds legit. Like we could, it's plausible, but the Europeans are like, this is dumb. You're outrageous.
Well, flow batteries have been around forever. Like
I feel like,
yes, that's the thing is the technology's been around for a while, which maybe that's what he's using as the jump board for his magical new car.
It just sounds to me like he has a flow battery with just like secret magical fluid that gets more power out, but you have to change it out more often.
There's not enough transparency in what's going on with this electrolyte, and I think people are super skeptical.
Watch it probably cost 10 times more to manufacture than like gasoline.
Right.
We'll solve that problem later, guys. It'll be fine. We'll solve that one later.
Yeah, I feel like
there's so many different ways
technically possible, but I think what they're talking about in this is vaporware, maybe.
Like one of the coolest energy storage mediums I've seen is flywheels.
Sure.
Energy. Have you seen that? Like how big power grids and stuff like that, they'll use these massive, like, 100,000 ton or whatever flywheels that are spinning at relatively slow speed.
Right.
And they store up so much power that for like a week, these things can like float the little local grid. And then they have the small ones. Have you seen the small ones that you can get for like businesses and stuff where it's like, it's a carbon fiber like core, which you'd think, flywheel, you want it to be really heavy. But if you spin it really fast, even a heavy piece of steel is going to come out of balance and bend and deform, right? So they build these carbon fiber ones that only weigh like a couple of pounds. They're not very heavy, but they spin them at like 500,000 RPM. And they do it on a magnetic bearing. Like when they get it spinning, the electricity it generates kicks a magnetic bearing, a frictionless bearing, and the vacuum that sucks all the air out of the cylinder. So you basically have something spinning in a pure vacuum with no friction with a magnetic bearing. And so these things can just spin forever. And I always thought like flywheels, okay, they store energy for a little while, but no, they've got some of these flywheels, they'll store energy for weeks. Like this thing will be spinning in a vacuum for weeks, and it's like crazy high efficiency too. Like, I mean, it's almost as good as like a lithium battery in some cases. I was like, and so they just take huge banks of these things, literally hundreds and hundreds of these like sealed vacuum centrifuges, or not centrifuges, they're flywheels inside. And instead of having like a big flywheel like you have where you have that, that huge moment of inertia or whatever out on the edge, they get them smaller and spin them faster and use carbon fiber and composites and stuff that are really lightweight so they can get more speed. Because
that would get you through the night if you're using solar or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. And it's for balance. It's like for balancing out grid storage. Like if we get wind and solar and stuff like that, you basically power up this bank and then have this bank draw power to run the turbines and stuff, or not the turbines, but to spin the generators, right? So you store the energy there and use it like a UPS.
I just keep thinking of I just spent the entire day yesterday installing fans, like ceiling fans.
Yeah, tell us about your renovations here, Mr.
You have to level. I had to level them all. I had to level the roof, not the roof, the ceiling. I had to. What is my battery running low for? Hang on a second. Let me. Yikes!
What battery?
What battery? Speaking of flywheels, why isn't my flywheel working?
Yeah, actually, Baz said like the KERS system in race cars that also store energy in flywheels. That's absolutely right. I don't think they do anymore though. I think modern F1 cars and stuff now store it in in supercapacitor. But yeah, the old KERS system on race cars used to store, like when you slammed on the brakes, it would basically feed all that energy into a flywheel that was inside of the race car, and then that flywheel would push that torque back into the drivetrain like between shifts. And like launch you and to reaccelerate the car. No, that was really cool. Matter of fact, there was a Porsche car that I read an article about a long time ago. Like Porsche had one that had this massive flywheel that could generate up to 300 horsepower. Like it could store 300 horsepower of braking. And it was this giant like stainless steel flywheel that was in a cage in the passenger side of the car. So like it was to balance out the car. So they had it in like the footwell of the passenger seat of the car, and you're like, dude, could you imagine driving a race car and having like this stainless steel wheel spinning at 100,000 RPMs, like right next to you in the passenger seat?
Well, is there any part of that in the regenerative braking stuff, or is that all done differently?
No, that's how it used to be done.
I was like,
now it's done with like super capacitors and an electric motor because it's lighter weight and more efficient. But they used to use the KERS system, which is a kinetic energy recovery system, and that was literally just a flywheel.
Like the car is just spinning as it goes. Yeah,
because what they would do is like you'd slam on the brakes, and instead of engaging the pads, what it would do is it would just feed all of that force into a flywheel. And so the wheels would be slowing down, but they'd be spinning up the flywheel. And then when you go to punch it and take off again, all that energy gets fed right back into the driveline.
Right. Instantly.
And it's like instant torque. Yep, that's what it was. Yeah, the Porsche 911 GT3 R hybrid. So crazy, like some of the shit that the Germans came up with in racing.
Yeah.
Like, let's just put a giant flywheel in there and it'll be our anti-lag system. But that was like the poor people version of a hybrid system. Like the LaFerrari or whatever, the electric motor fills in the gaps between the shifts and when the turbo and keeps the turbo spooled. You know,
just
it's like
smooth it up.
Smooths it out. Just smooths it out, and you always have torque. It basically fixes the problem of your transmission dropping out and you losing, because the second you push in the clutch, there's no power going to the wheel. So you're losing all that time when you're having to shift a car. So then they have double clutch transmissions where the shift happens in milliseconds. But even with the milliseconds, you're still losing a tiny, tiny bit. And that's going to, affect your boost on your turbos and everything like that. So then they have all these weird ways to keep the turbo spooled up and to keep constant power. Like Audi makes a vehicle now that has a electric turbocharger. And I thought this was the weirdest thing ever. It has a regular turbo, and then it has an electric turbo, and the electric turbo basically spools up the bigger turbo so that it's always its full potential, producing max boost, so that when you're shifting or you go to take off and you like push on the gas pedal, it like preloads the turbo so that you have
to
all that
wait
power.
for it to spin up. Interesting.
There's no lag. It's like zero turbo lag in this thing. And it's because this little electric motor with this special bank of batteries, and it's not designed to run for any period of time. It's not like a boost button that gives you a bunch. But there is a car that does that I just saw the other day. I had no idea. Have you heard of the McLaren P1?
Oh, actually, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, they call it the Holy Trinity, like from Top Gear or whatever. It's the Ferrari, the LaFerrari, the P1 from McLaren, and then what's the third one? Why am I forgetting the third one? Porsche 918 Spider. So those are the three just beasts. These were like the fastest cars. They call them the Holy Trinity at the time. These were the three fastest cars in the world. And the P1 had a feature that was really cool on it. It had this thing called an iPass button, which is what Indy cars have. And the iPass button, all it does is take all the power that's stored up in the super capacitor bank or whatever. All it does is just dump that into the electric motor that's right between the engine and the transmission. So you basically have like nitrous, but instead of nitrous, you have an electric motor just feeding a bunch of torque into the driveline of the car. But it doesn't last very long. It's just enough power to if you need to overtake somebody, you hold down the button and it gives you like 10 seconds of an additional like 100 or 200 horsepower. But it's enough to get by the person, and then you let off and it starts charging again. It's cool. So
it's like a video game.
It is at that point, yeah. And you can push another button and like it drops the wing down. So the wing creates a lot of drag, giving you downforce. Well, in a straight line, you don't need that downforce, right? In a straight line, you just want to go fast and cut down resistance of the wind. So you push a button and the wing basically drops into a neutral area where it just cuts through the air. It doesn't produce any downforce or any lift. And then so you push. If you try to go around a corner, though, your car just spin out, right? Because you have no downforce on the back. But if you want to go really fast in a straight line, you just peg both those buttons. There's a red one and a blue one, and one makes the wing go flat, and the other one gives you like another 100 or 200 horsepower from the electric system.
Wow,
I think it's cool, man. David's like, I'm not into cars. Shut the fuck up. Let's talk about something else.
No. Actually, no. I find car technology fascinating. I just don't have a car. Like I used to drive bikes. That was my thing.
Wait, you don't have a car? What? You have to have a car. You don't have a car?
No.
What?
So we had one in LA. We had the biodiesel in LA, and then when we came here, I was like, we got a perfectly good subway system. What do we need it for? And then we got hit by COVID.
Not even your wife has a car.
No, she's renting a car right now with the production, but that's it. Yeah.
I thought I knew you, David. I thought I knew you.
I know.
You've broken my heart, sir.
I got the first license I got, the first driver's license I got was a motorcycle license, and I only drove bikes for years and years and years. And then
Dr. Rodney McKay would have had a car.
No, we would have had a driver.
That is true. That's a fair point.
Yeah. No, he would have driven like it's true. He would have like a complete shit box that was.
He would have just taken a helicopter everywhere and not given like two shits.
He'd have had like Gru's vehicle. Just
driving around your puddle jumper with wheels on it.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, Gimpy, what's up, Gimpy? Thank you for $5.
Gimpy G's already is throwing the shade already.
He's in here trying to make it rain, man. It's like a strip club up in here. He said, "I bet the Flow battery guy starts a sci-fi religion and makes David Pope." Hi, all. David, if he offered you the position of Pope, the guy that's building that car with the micro flow batteries, would you accept that position?
Absolutely, yeah.
You'd be like the David Miscavige.
I think there could be some serious. I think there could be serious money in that. That'd be like a good cult to get to raise a little money.
Yeah, Unity Tech said, "Is that what DRS is?" Yeah, it's DRS is shit. It's like, what does DRS stand for? I can't remember off the top of my head now. That's where you basically drop the wing on the car so that you have no resistance, so you can cut through the air. It's something stability. What the hell does it stand for? Drag reduction? DRS, drag reduction. Oh yeah, drag reduction system. That's it. Thank you. I mean, cool shit that you don't see on any normal cars. You only get that stuff when you spend like millions and millions of dollars.
Well, and eventually it's all going to come down. It'll all trickle down eventually, right?
It will. It will. Just like every single modern feature that you have in a car today started with Mercedes, most likely. Right. Like Mercedes had everything. They had like heated seats in like the 70s,
the parking assist, and all that
auto windshield wipers like in the 60s or 70s, the massaging seats or whatever in like the 80s, like every single thing, even the seatbelts. I think even the auto locking system in the seatbelt, like when you rip the seatbelt forward really fast and it grabs. I even think that's a Mercedes technology, like where you basically spin the cylinder and it locks and holds it.
I would have guessed Volvo for the seatbelt thing.
You'd be surprised, man. So many things.
Intermittent wipers. I'm pretty sure Chevy stole that. There's like a whole movie about
steals everything.
A dude who like had, he like tweaked his own car for it, and then one of the big three like tried to steal it from him, and there's like a whole movie about him fighting them over it or something like that, about the intermittent wipers.
Yeah, a couple of people are backing up on Volvo that they did do the seatbelt. So yeah, no.
I know they were the first ones to like put them as a standard feature. I don't know about the auto locking thing. Like Volvo was definitely one of the first for standard safety belts. Like that was their thing. And frankly, Volvos have been top-notch safety forever. Like, dude, they're great.
Like, let's see here. Okay, the history.
I'd be curious to know how they hold up now, because safety is such a big part of them. Like,
Mercedes created the first motorcycle.
Who did?
Mercedes?
It's a Mercedes
first
motorcycle?
patented motorcycle they created. Oh my god, this thing looks old too. It's called the Gottlieb.
I've never ever heard of that.
Yep, they also created the very first modern automobile.
I got to get a Gottlieb.
Yep, it's a three-wheeler single piston horse carriage looking thing. But yeah, they created the first motor car. They also created the very first hybrid vehicle in 1906. The first electric gasoline hybrid in 1906.
That's insane.
Yep, the first to stick brakes and suspension on all four wheels. So you have brakes and suspension on all four wheels.
Wow,
thanks to these guys.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts?
Daimler first true motorcycle.
It's so crazy, man. Safety crumple
zone. They still make motorcycles. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Mercedes-Benz, first car to have crumple zones. They invented crumple zones.
Crazy.
Let's see here. Scrolling on here. What's number 8? Anti-lock braking system specifically designed for the S class in 1978.
Jeez.
Every car has anti-lock brakes now, right?
Now, yeah. That used to be like a major selling point.
Yep, first manufacturer to have an unlimited warranty for unlimited range on their car. So on their apparently you can buy like S classes or whatever, and they have like some kind of unlimited range warranty. No other manufacturer does that apparently. They're the first person that had a self-driving car over 2 decades ago. They had a self-driving car.
Wow.
Obviously, it wasn't available to the public though. This is just stuff that they created, right? So, wait, all CPO cars are certified and reconditioned by Mercedes-Benz. What the hell is a CPO car?
Certified pre-owned.
Oh, that's what it is. So they were the ones that started doing that. I can't find anything about the seatbelt though. So I bet you're right. I bet you Volvo probably owns the seatbelt game. But it's crazy because I was watching a documentary where it was like every technology you see in a Mercedes car, they say at some point you will see it just proliferate to everything else once their patent expires. So it was like everything they were going through. It was like heated windshields and rain sensing wipers and the seat bolsters. I think BMW had a couple too that they did, but they're like, yeah, anything.
Did Mercedes do the headlights that shifted as well?
Yeah, probably. That is actually really old. I remember seeing like a car from like the late 50s, early 60s. They had they pivoted and it was attached to like the rack and pinion. So like as you turned the
there was a Studebaker. I remember. I don't know if that was the first.
I think that might have been
Studebaker, like in the 40s, that had that big center light that turned with the steering.
Oh, in the middle, yeah.
That might had be 3 lights, but the middle one turned. The middle was like a spotlight. I remember that.
That's cool.
Yeah, dude, this stuff is so cool. So David, why are you renovating your house, bro? Like, what's going on? Did you have like water damage or something?
There was that. That's a whole other thing, but so we have a water feature in our living room which we're trying to get fixed and then of course you go and get someone to look at the roof and they say, oh yeah, we'll do the roof, but what are you gonna do with the chimney? I was like, what's wrong with the chimney? They're like, well, look at it, and it's like it's leaning like this. So we're doing chimneys and roofs and all sorts of stuff, and then the upstairs bathroom is the one that I'm working on right now, but it was just so hot up there for Jane, who works up there all the time, that we wanted to get some new fans up there, and oh my god, like it seemed like the simplest thing in the world, but you have to level them, you have to build them, you have to read the instructions, and then you have to rewire because we have these ancient old adjustable knobs that were powering them, and you can't use them anymore on the new ones. They choke on them. But this thing is like, I wish I had it.
It's like an old school potentiometer, like where you just turn it and it's like a wire.
Yeah, and it's like you can sort of hear it whining. It goes, so it's like to have the fans on. That's it. Yeah. So to have, and there's 2 of them together, right? So you could almost paper clips were being magnetized off the desk and things. So I had to replace those, and that's what I was talking about. I literally started looking for Wi-Fi controlled breaker boxes because the breaker boxes in the basement. I was like, well, could I use like a servo and like tape it to the button so that when I hit the servo, it could turn it off for me? Because I kept on having to run up and downstairs because God forbid my 13-year-old kid would do that. So I was so exhausted yesterday just from running up and downstairs all day and installing these fans. So now I've got this bathroom I got to work on. So
I hate running wires. That's the worst part for me. Like like every single time I'm like, you know what? I'm going to run the wires in the wall. I instantly regret it after I cut the drywall because I find out that there's like shit in the wall that's like insulation on the outer walls, and sometimes it's even on the inner walls. Like my house is just a crap.
I'm looking for a good boroscope. That's what I want. I want like a good like in wall. What are they called? Or endoscope or whatever they're called.
I have one somewhere. I have a really nice one. Yeah, I bought.
Are they any good?
Yeah, no, they're fantastic. And as a matter of fact, you can buy one. I think it's like $100 for your phone, your Android or your iPhone.
Well, so I had one, but it was lousy. You could see like an inch ahead of you. I want one that's like got a wide enough field of view. I can go, oh, that's where the duck goes, or that's where the
Yeah, I wonder if Costco. Do you guys have Costco up there?
Yeah. Do we have what?
You guys have Costco up there?
Yeah. Yeah,
I bet you Amazon has it. Let me see here. It's I think it's called.
Yeah, if someone could recommend a good one, that'd be amazing. Because the one I've got right now is
endoscope.
Yeah, it's a cheap ass. I got a cheap ass little one with a huge long cable. It's like really cool, but I feed it in and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Like,
did it have the lights on the tip?
It had a light on it as well. Yeah, and it's just
the one I have has a light and it's got like a fisheye lens, so you can see like everything.
I want the fisheye. I want the fisheye on it for sure.
Yeah, no, they're not too bad. I guess. Oh, okay, so they start getting up there. Like if you get the professional ones for like installing stuff with the wide angle lens, they're like $135+.
But that's okay.
I mean,
I honestly, I spend so much time punching holes in walls looking for where things go. I mean, I ran all of our Ethernet and USB extenders through, or what is it called? Ethernet over? No, what is it? It's USB over. I don't know. It's like a powered USB of some sort into the other room for the CNC and stuff. But it's so I'm constantly cabling stuff. But honestly, the key to cables is a good fishing system. The good fish. I have two great fishes. One is a nice thin one that can you can zip in and get in there. But the best one is this mega one that I've got, which is like feeding like cable under the ocean. And you're just like, that sucker will punch its way through anything to get into the wall.
So is that like the thing that's like the long drill bit for like going through beams and stuff like that? Or is this the thing you
it doesn't actually like drill? It's just for you I'll grab it.
I'm really curious because running wires and walls is like my kryptonite. Oh, by the way, guys, here in chat, I found one that's $25 that just connects to your phone. And it's also IP67 water rated. So you could like use this to like look at things underwater on like your hot tub and stuff if you need to. These things are really neat. I have one that's a standalone that I got from Costco like a million years ago. It looks just like this on the tip though. You could like change the brightness on the light. It's got like a little detachable screen on it that's like Wi-Fi, so you can take it somewhere. Oh, it's one of those things.
Yeah. And it's the simplest tool. It's literally just a good, and as long as it's got a good, and you just feed it out and you can feed things through and then you pull the cables through. But so this is the one I usually use. But then when it came to the Ethernet cables, I was really struggling because I had to go between the floors and stuff. And that's when I bought this.
Yeah, I got to see how you do that. Let's see.
Oh, the big boy!
Look at this.
Oh, that's it. Weighs a fish. That's a trawler.
Dude,
that's the trawler, bro.
Was it like 300 feet? Like,
it weighs a ton. And look at it. It's like you gotta like that sucker bends. What is it? How long is it?
Okay, I have a question though.
100 feet.
That's only 100 feet.
David, all these things that you're showing me are really cool, but the thing that I can't get my head around is how the fuck do you get it to the destination to like fish the stuff back through? Like how do you get through like the beams and the walls and through down through the floor, like between the stories and stuff? Like how do you get the fish to the destination?
Well, I mean, there's certain paths that just make sense. I mean, like, so we have a couple of crawl spaces and stuff. You get a sense of which way the beams are running and stuff. And so as long as
you're still having to go run it, like you have to run the fish to where you want and then tie the shit to it and then pull it through, right?
That's it. Exactly.
See, what I'm wondering is
you don't try to do it all in one go. Like you do different sections.
You can just stick in the wall, like drill between. Like if I want to run a wire inside of my wall from this side to this side, and I've got like 12 fucking beams in between, do they make a thing that'll just drill through all those and run a wire through, and I can just fish the wires through? Is that like a thing they make, or do I have to?
I would feel like
drywall
yes.
off?
I feel like yeah, but you're better off.
I think it's cheaper just to pull the drywall, feed it, and put the drywall back in,
or taking the like a socket out, take the junction box, not the junction box, but the box that the socket's in, and then either going through the conduit that way or run it along.
Yeah, follow the conduit down. That works
because you're already going to have holes drilled through your studs to make water lines and electrical lines, and you just follow those.
But here's the other thing: it's so easy to repair drywall. Once you've done it a few times, it's a pain in the ass. No, it's a total pain in the ass.
Drywall out, texturing it, no. Getting the texture to match, bullshit. You can go through my house. I patched 100 things in this house, and you can tell every single spot where
no, they all look like shit, and Jane hates it. But you could but it's easy to fix.
You can do it. It is easy.
I've found because I've had to do a couple things. I dinked a couple walls, moving furniture and stuff into this new place. What I found is the reason it doesn't look the same. Right, I go over it with a roller or a brush, is because they spray the original paint. It's sprayed on, and that's what gives it that kind of vaguely bumpy. It's not quite popcorn style, but that's because they come in here and spray.
Yep.
And your roller and your brush isn't going to get the same. You got to get your own little spray.
Yeah, I used to do drywall. Like that was my very first job I had was with my dad. I did drywall, spotting screws. The only thing I never did was texture because that you had to bring in that big rig and spray down the walls with the trucks outside with the pump on it. So I never did the
stuff to cover up all your mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Nowadays, like the wall looks like shit and you just fill it in.
You can just they got a thing that it just put a tube into a 5-gallon bucket and then and it's electric little pump pump sprayer.
Yeah, I've always used those little cans, but you never can match the texture. It never matches. No matter, I've literally taken like peeled a piece off the wall, taped it to a board, and was like going over it and feathering it. I'm like, oh man, I got it just right. And then I go over the wall and go, and it's still, you can tell when it dries.
Not like a rattle can.
But even if you patch paint, even patching paint, you have to paint the whole freaking wall. Yep. Like it just, you see the difference.
I can tell
when it dries, you can tell like the sheen of the same.
Exactly. That's every time I'm walking down the steps, I'm like, damn it. I can see where it looked good and then it dried and it is a different shade. Like it's shinier or something. And
it makes total sense though. It'd be really cool to have one with a little servo on the front that could just drill a hole when you needs to and go through. Yeah. You know, and you can have a camera so you can see what's going on.
It's funny because you guys said just use the holes that are already in the wall, and a couple other people in chat said that too. And I feel like such a dumbass because when I ran my Ethernet in my house, I literally was like tearing up the bottom of the wall and running the cables under the carpet and like grooving out the pad in the carpet and stuff to like get everything because I could not figure out how to get this shit through the wall. Yeah, but you're telling me now all I have to do is pull out the outlet, tie a thing to like one of the wires on my outlet and tug it through, and it would have worked.
It doesn't always work, and if you do it in small sections, it's better. Like you still need to poke a few holes here and there, but it's way easier. Or the other thing that people don't do, you can also go external, go outside.
Sure.
Like depending on what you're doing, just run a unit of like you could run like one of those big like steel pole things up the side of the house and just have it drill one hole at the top, one at the bottom, and you got stuff wherever you need it.
I actually did that on the inside of the wall for my old projector setup in my bedroom. I just had a piece of conduit that ran from the back of the bed all the way to the ceiling and had a 45 and then went to the projector. And you basically just popped it off and opened it up like a cabinet. And you put all your cables laying flat in it and closed it. And then it was just like this little like kind of stylized looking box that went up the wall and went to the projector. And it just gave really easy access to the cables. But it's like, it's always cool when it looks like flush, right? It always like it would suck having like speakers on your ceiling and shit if you had conduit run into each one of them, right? But I see what you're saying. Put conduit on the backside, like outside, and then drill into the wall and come through the back.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not, you know, I mean, for most of the stuff, as long as you're not, you know, poking holes in the one of the big issues we have here is they're all brick houses, right? So they're just you're drilling through. In our case, you're drilling through like a double brick wall to get in. So I'm like, nah, screw that. I'm not doing
and
that.
Like, doesn't it just crumble and shit too? Like brick's always like super crumbly.
Surprising. I mean, it's surprising how it holds up. I mean, it's lasted this long.
Well, the cool thing about brick is it's like easy to repair, right? Like if you punch a hole in a brick, it's like you just go get some mortar or whatever and put it back in there and let it dry and resurface it. I mean, as long as it's obviously like to paint it and make it look like brick and shit, like obviously that's not going to look great. But I'm just saying, like if you had to fill like something on like a concrete house or brick or something like that, it seems like that would be easier than having to like, you know, rip the siding off and go find the exact matching siding.
But again, you can run stuff. I mean, it's just, I don't know. We'll see. At some point I have to do the it's fucking heavy. I'm still carrying that thing. At some point I have to do the garage and I got to wire all of that too. So I got to figure out how to do, but I figure right now I better just stop the leak in the living room and things. But I swear to God, the tools, it all comes down to just, there's a specialty tool for everything.
Yeah.
If you have that tool, you are better than 90% of the people you can hire at a contract.
That's actually one of my biggest like downfalls that with me personally with doing projects is every time you're lazy and you choose not to like spend time to go buy a tool or look for the tool, you end up wasting in the end so much more time and so much more energy like doing it with what you have.
Yeah.
And you end up like doing a lot more. And it's rare that that's not true. Like a good example, my son's tire on his little Razor scooter was popped and I had to put a new tube in it. And it's like somewhere in my house, I have those little tools, you know, the shims that you stick in the tube and you basically just leverage it and it just pops the tire off. You put a tube in, you pop it back on, inflate it, and it's good to go. It takes you like 30 seconds. I couldn't find that. So what do? I go grab a flathead screwdriver and go, I'll just do it with a flathead screwdriver.
Oh, yeah.
It took me like
you'll tear the rubber.
Yeah. It didn't tear the rubber, thankfully.
Oh, that's good.
Super thick rubber.
Oh man.
But I'm like screaming at it. I'm trying not to puncture the new tube that I just put back in there. Every time I'd pull it over the lip, I couldn't slide it along the rim to pull the rest of it on because it was like this metal on metal, like grippy shit, where the other one's like a Teflon tool that just slides. And I was like, shit, if I had just taken like 15 minutes and dug through my garage to like find the right tool, I would have been done. Like it took me an hour to do like a minute job.
It all comes down to the tools. Like, I mean, I definitely think there's expertise involved in some stuff, but almost every contractor that I've ever worked with, I've just gone like, you know what? Honestly, I almost wish I'd spent the money on the tools because then I could do it again. Yeah. Like we worked out that the money we spent on our kitchen, I could have wrecked 3 of everything that was installed for the price. Like I could have destroyed an oven, all of the cabinets 3 times over for the price it costs to have the guys come in and do a bad job.
Or like how many times have you not went and like you didn't want to go rent or buy the tool to do something, and then you end up spending like 5 hours, get frustrated, still can't do it, and then you end up just going and getting the tool anyways, and then
or hiring someone to do it. That's
the best one, right?
Yeah.
But no, I had to change the brakes on my wife's RX 300 Lexus, and I'm like, I've changed brakes on a million vehicles, right? Like brake jobs are probably the thing I've done the most on any car, because I'm hard on brakes. And most of my cars, it's really easy to do. But for some reason on this Lexus, the way that they fit the caliper over the hub, it's like this super pressure fit. Like it has to be flawlessly put on there. And then a little tiny rust forms and it will not come off. And so you look in the manual and it says the only way to take this off is like with a special tool that's called like a hub puller that like goes on there, like connects around the thing. And then you like turn a screw in the center and it laterally pulls on it. Well, the tool costs like hundreds of dollars, but there's a place in town that rents one, and I could rent it for literally like $12. It was like $12 to rent it for the day. And I was like,
we got a place called Mr. Brake.
Yeah.
So you take it in and they do it in a minute.
So I shit you not. I wish I had a picture of this. I had every screwdriver in my entire garage in around this thing, hammered in with a hammer, sticking out like a porcupine on this thing, trying to break this seal between the hub and this. And I mean, everything. And I'm with my wife and I'm cussing. I cut my hand and I'm bleeding. And she's like, would you please just go get that tool? Just go get the tool. So I go down to the auto parts store. I walk in. My hands are all beat up like hamburger or whatever. And the dude's like, oh, I see you tried to do this without the tool. Oh, yeah. Everybody comes in here looking like that. I take the tool home. No shit. I take and pull all the stuff off. It takes another 10 minutes to get all the shit unwedged. I take this tool and all it does is it's got like these 4 little arms. They go around the back of it. You twist a screw until there's some tension on it. And you just take a wrench and you just put it over the nut and go crank, crank. And it goes pop and just comes right off. Like zero effort. Like I could have done it with my pinky.
Love it.
And I was banging on this thing for hours. So
it's funny, because the plumbing's got easier, the electricals got easier. All the electricals modular now. So you like even just wiring in like these fans. Once I had everything level, which took forever, you wire the cables into a little harness system, and then everything else is just plug and play. You just clip. It's all just plugs together. It's fantastic.
Plumbing is scary for me. Like that's one thing I really try to avoid. Like I'll do it under a sink, like for a faucet or something like that. But any plumbing that's concealed in a wall, I'm like really nervous about, because like my parents' house growing up, we had to rip the whole floor out of the house because of like this leak that nobody detected. And it created like black mold and rotted all the floorboards. Like the floor was like literally starting to like sink in on the house because the boards were failing. Because you don't see it. Nobody ever sees it. And once you see it, it's too late. So I'm like, anytime plumbing stuff's done, I'm like, nope, I'll just leave that to the professionals. Now I understand why plumbers
Jane made us bring in a plumber and an electrician for the bathroom. But
smart.
Which I think, because she said, look, anything that's behind the walls, she just gets nervous. And I thought, okay, fine, if she's gonna sleep better, that's fine. But I still bought all the PEX stuff because I'm like, dude, I want to plumb the basement.
When they were building this place, we took a walk around a couple times before they put the sheetrock up, and it's all these like, I think it must be the PEX stuff, because it's all just these flexi tubes, and
they're color coded even.
Yeah, like, blue cold water, red hot water, and it's in there, and I'm like, I'm probably never gonna see it in forever, but like it's cool to know that's in there.
It just crimps. It's just a crimper. You put the thing in, you go,
and
awesome. It's sealed, and it doesn't. And there's even ones called shark bites, which are really expensive.
Somebody said that in the chat.
You just snap those on the copper pipe, and then bingo, you got a connection, and that's it.
We don't even use copper pipe down here anymore. Everything here now is that PVC.
New construction. I heard is all that flexi tube stuff that I saw on my walls.
Nerd alert.
Oh no! Well, apparently Wales lost the footy.
Oh
yeah, we were voting for Wales. It's true.
3-0.
Yeah. Baz and his mother like to watch.
Can you guys translate for Redneck American here?
That would be, you would call it soccer, I believe.
Wales lost their soccer.
Wales lost the footy. I'm like, Wales don't have feet. What are you talking about?
Denmark. Norway. Was it Norway? Who did they lose to?
I don't know. He was watching the game. Soccer? You tell us.
It's Norway, right?
Seems like a lot of running. It makes me tired to watch.
Yes, Mom told me to come downstairs and grab you.
All right, I've got to go. Okay, all right.
Looks like it was Denmark. Wales.
That's it for me. I got
Denmark 4-0.
We got to release the Hewlett to return to his duties.
Because you know what I got to go do is I got to go insulate the outside. I got to insulate the dog. I'm not walking the dog. It's your job. We should fight definitely on the internet. Let's fight on the internet, like real parents.
Arm wrestle.
All right, lads, it's good to see you. I apologize, I'm not staying for longer.
It's okay,
no worries, man. It's always a pleasure. Anytime
if you learn about any cool renovation tools, I want to know.
Yeah,
I think if I start buying them, people will think like, oh, send him stuff for like to try out when he's digging out the basement or whatever.
That's the YouTube way, sir. That is the YouTube way. All right, you guys can find David down in the video description on this particular live stream and any other live stream we've done, and go hang out with him and tell him what tools to buy and all that stuff over on Twitter. He's pretty active over there. Yeah. So it's just now you and me, the beard of knowledge, and the fat of none.
Yeah. Right on, man.
I got a beard. It's just my beard is made of flesh. I got a flesh beard. See,
that's
I'm like
spooky.
Santa Claus. Oh, you want the flesh beard. Come on, dude. Ladies. Hey, John. Hey, John. Is it Giluli? Sorry, I don't know why that's so hard to say. He said, not tech talk, but just ate an entire Victoria sponge cake. No regrets. Oh shit, man, that sounds good. I'd go for that. Also, thank you for another £5. He said, you guys rule. Love these streams. Well, we appreciate that support, man. We love doing them.
Yeah,
we got Ben Affleck in the house. Affleck, thank you for the $2. He said, what is your favorite apps to use for a VR headset? Like, do you do any VR stuff?
Nah.
You don't do any VR stuff, do you?
Nah.
He's like, I like to do stuff in reality. Because I don't need VR. I'm living the life.
I would, but like, I don't have time enough for the stuff that I've got, and there's just no point in putting the money into it.
So my favorite thing to do in VR, other than the adult stuff, we won't get into that here. My favorite thing to do in VR is playing Beat Saber and Synth Riders. Those are my two absolute favorite games. But as far as apps, if you're specifically asking about apps, I can't remember the name of it, but it's the theater. It's basically the Quest 2 has a theater app where you can go in and you can watch YouTube, you can watch like Netflix, you can watch all these different things, but you're in a movie theater, like, and you can sit wherever you want in the movie theater, and you change the lighting and the scenery. And it feels like you're in a big wide open space. So even if you're laying in bed in the middle of the night, you can pop in some, IEMs or headphones, and it even gives you that spatial audio when you turn your head. So you feel like you're in a theater and you feel like you're in a wide open space, and it helps to just like make you feel not so claustrophobic. And that I really like. Plus, you can have somebody literally sleeping next to you while you're watching an action movie, just blazingly loud audio, just ripping up your ears, bass, the whole works. Like I even have sometimes I'll put on the Razer headphones that have the transducers in them. So I even get that subwoofer effect of it, like, vibrating my whole skull. Yeah. And I can just be sitting there in the bed next to my wife, can be like sawing logs. I'm just like, boom, boom, explosion, in a big theater setting. And you can even have your friends come and hang out with you and watch movies with you inside of the theater, which is really cool. Then you can, so you and your friends can just like talk back and forth and make jokes about the movie and shit, just like if you really went to the theater. It's really cool stuff. Hewlett said apologies. I leaned on the mouse and killed my connection. All about before the tech talk call. No, we figured you just had to go, bro.
Yeah.
No, David, you're all good, man. No apologies. We know that you're like a super famous actor and you don't have to make excuses when you want to just get the fuck out. Like we understand, dude. We bow to you and understand your superiority as the better Canadian. Yeah. Okay, do us a favor though, David, and try not to get electrocuted before our next show doing all your little home repairs and shit. Canada's 110, right? Across the country, or are there places up there where it's 240? What's their voltage up there? Does anybody know? Do we got Miss Liz, you're a Canadian. Do you guys have 110 or 240 up there? Oh, 110? Okay, sweet. Yeah, because like that's the one thing that would freak me out about living in the UK, dude, is like 240 volts. It's like, yeah, you're gonna die if you fuck with electricity.
But the amperage is lower, right? That's the thing. It's not so much the volts. You can get hit by 1,000,000 volts if it's like low amps. It's the amps that get you.
It is the amps that get you, but I think there's the amps to back it up too. Because I think they have like 30 amp breakers, dude. It's like here we don't have 30 amp breakers. We have like 15 amp breakers.
15 is your standard.
So and they're running like what, 240, 30 amps or something.
230 at 13, they're saying.
Wait, they're saying 230 is more safe, 240 hertz.
Yeah, because the voltage is higher, but the amperage is lower. So it'd probably hurt. Oh, it hurt more, but like it's not gonna kill you.
Let's see. So 230 at 13 amps. Hold on here. I'm curious. So 230 times 13. What's the total wattage? So that's 3,000 watts. Where here we have 110 times 15 amp for a standard breaker. They do go up to 20.
Yeah.
So 1,650. So you guys have like double the current that we do, like going through your standard outlets in your houses. So, but then again, you guys have breakers though, right? And like GFCIs and all that shit that protects you. Like if you get hit, it's just going to pop the breaker, right?
Yeah.
Because I'd imagine you'd have, if you didn't have that, like if everybody was still running on like old school fuses and stuff, like people would be dying every year from getting like electrocuted plugging shit in. So
30 at the box,
scary,
15
man.
or 13 at the wall. Fused plugs, 3 to 13 amps. Yeah.
You could run like an arc welder. Like you could literally run like welding equipment off of just your regular outlet on the wall in the UK. That would be cool.
Yeah,
I will admit that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, like Baz is saying, this guy Bass here, so you can hold a sparking spark plug. It's well over 20k volts, but the amperage is so low. Which I have zapped myself with.
I have too.
It was a small gas engine. It was like a Briggs and Stratton.
It hurts, man.
Oh, one of the most surprising things that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, no, it's no joke. Like getting tased, dude.
Yeah, because they would recommend like, hey, to check for spark, you can just hold the spark plug up against like the hole that it screws into, and then just pull the cord, and you'll see it spark. Well, I was touching like the collar that's got like a hex-headed collar on the thing.
Happened to me with my dad's race car growing up.
Yanked that.
Yeah, and I did that to my dad's race car that had like an MSD 50,000 volt ignition coil, and it like threw me into a bush. Like it literally, it's like, you watch the movies where you see like the person like flying through the air when they get electrocuted.
Yeah,
that was like basically me on a small scale, because it makes you tense up. It's like you get hit by it, and your immediate reaction is to shove in every direction, and so you get hit by it, and you're just like, ugh, and you basically just like launch yourself like Air Jordan, and hopefully break the connection before it like freaking kills you. Yeah, let's see here. I said it. Oh wait, I didn't say it doesn't hurt, but it won't kill you.
Right? Yeah, it hurts. It hurts.
I've had some close calls with 110 though, because I think I told you guys the story where I got hit pretty hard in an old building that had fuses, and the fuse didn't blow. So the thing was literally gripped into me for a good like 5 seconds.
Oh yeah,
like just I mean, as soon as they turned off the power on the power strip, when they realized I was just getting roasted. I fell to the ground, and I was there for like an hour, like having trouble breathing. My whole body felt like it was asleep, like when your hands and your feet go to sleep, and my whole body felt like that for a long time. I was like, am I going to die?
Those circular fuses will corrode, and the bit that's supposed to break, like physically, there's like a piece of something in there that's supposed to explode. It'll like weld itself solid, and so they won't.
Yeah, break. It never popped. As a matter of fact, even after they turned off the power strip, after me getting hit for. I mean, I don't know. It could have been like 5 seconds, but it was enough time that the person that flipped on the switch saw me getting shocked and had to figure it out in his head that I was getting the shit electrocuted out of me, and turned the switch back off on the power strip. And in that time, it still had power. Like it never did blow the fuse. The fuse was fine after that. So in hindsight, we probably should have changed the fuse then, huh? Because that probably was an indicator the fuse is not doing what the fuse should be doing.
Well, you probably should have upgraded the whole box at that point.
Yeah, actually, I'm surprised that our house didn't burn down growing up, because what my dad used to do? He'd literally go take aluminum foil or a nail, and he'd roll it up and he'd stick it in where the fuse was when we didn't have extra fuses. So like we'd blow fuses all the time in that house because the power was super dirty. We had like power lines going through the woods, and the wind would blow them back and forth against the trees, and you get this like flickering power constantly from it like tugging on the mast on the house. And so we blew fuses all the time. So we ran out of fuses. My dad, he wouldn't wait until he could get another fuse. He'd just go back there and like take like a 16 penny nail and cut the end off with like tin snips and just jam it in the freaking outlet. Like in the place where the fuse was in the box. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, and one time he put aluminum foil in it. He took aluminum foil and rolled it up. Like he rolled up and made like an aluminum foil plug, and he stuck it in there. And I remember that it actually like it started like melting after like an hour. And then the power went out again, and we went back there, and it was like the aluminum was like vaporizing. Like that could have like fell on the carpet and like caught the house on fire.
I remember seeing a goofy, it was like a goofy picture of a guy. It was like a toolbox or something, or like a box with like little compartments in it, right? And there were like various thicknesses of like screws or nails, and they were like labeled like 16 amps, 30 amps. I think it was just like a joke, like a meme for electricians or something, but it's like.
Or like car fuse boxes. You remember like the old cars from like the 80s? People would take pennies and jam them in there.
Right. Yeah.
Did you ever see that? Yeah. Like because they used to have the old cylindrical fuses. So what people would do is they'd take a penny on the little small fuse block that you put in there. You could take a penny and jam it in there, and it worked. So, but a penny's not going to blow. Like a penny's probably
just get hot.
Yeah. How many freaking amps does it take to break a penny? I mean, it's usually like a little tiny thread of metal going through those fuses. It's wild. Speaking of burning stuff, Christian's going to segue us. He says, speaking of burning stuff, what about that 100 million degrees Kelvin?
I've been scrubbing through some of this stuff on. I think the link that you put into Skype earlier might be different because that one mentions China, and Helion Energy, the one we were linked to on Twitter, is an American company. I don't know if they might have their plant in China or wherever they're doing their testing might be in China. So there could be
2018. Yeah,
there could be some crossover here. But yeah, man, this is some big deal stuff. Yeah. So I think one of the big things to take away from this is how they're doing their generation. This isn't like Spider-Man where they are trying to maintain a continuous fusion reaction. It's pulsed. So it's combining stuff from their website and Wikipedia. They are launching 2 plasmoids of deuterium, which is like special hydrogen,
heavy water
that they get out of the ocean, I guess.
H3O.
Pretty cool. Yeah, deuterium and helium-3. They're launching 2 of these globs of plasma at each other, and as they bang together in the center, that's what's creating just a blink of. They're not trying to keep it forever. They're not trying to hold this fusion reaction and feed it. It's a pulse, boop, 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 boop. And I guess it's like it says here that the system theoretically operates at 1 hertz, injecting plasma, compressing it to fusion conditions, expanding and directing the recovering. And so like
Celsius, not Kelvin. I want to correct that. Right. Real quick. I think I said Kelvin earlier. No, Celsius was what I meant.
It's 100 million Celsius. Yeah,
Celsius.
And I guess so. I guess what's happening is the resulting explosion. I guess because I guess that's really what's happening. Pushes against the magnetic containment, and that expansion of the containment field is what's producing the current. They're not heating water. They're not doing the steam thing. They
figured out how to actually get power from the reaction itself, not using it as a pedal, basically.
It's a direct conversion, I guess, is what they're calling it. Directly recovering the energy to produce electricity. So as the containment field is warping, they've got this thing right close to the reaction and it's that pulse, that warping of the field is creating the current.
That's wild. So you wouldn't need all these giant cooling stacks and water and turbines.
They're small apparently. I haven't seen any talk about exactly how big, but they claim that it's smaller, quicker to build them, quicker to iterate. Yeah.
Yes, I know the temperature is really important because like materials fuse easier the hotter they are. Because the more excited you are and the faster they move, the more likely they are to like grab onto each other and hold together. So the temperature, but the problem is you have to use like magnetic confinement to hold that, because if it touches any other material at that temperature, there's no known material on the periodic table that won't just vaporize, basically, like just instantly transition to gas. Wow, this is like, you know what's funny though is like it does kind of seem like Star Trek technology. Because like when you think about Star Trek, it's like, you know, they have deuterium injectors and the warp core, and they have a magnetic confinement field that holds the plasma stream together, and they extract energy from it. It's like I have to think that this shit on some level is inspired. Yeah, like you know, it's like because it's similar. It's like they're building like a warp core and harvesting energy off of it.
The math, so like antimatter, right? That used to be just like not fake, because like obviously the math says that this should exist, but like they didn't know for sure for the longest time. Again, the math suggested that it should, but of course, where are you going to find antimatter? We're all a matter universe. But then and so like it was science fiction for a little while, like theoretical at least, and then we get to a point where like, well, we have to prove it. Does the math says it should work, but like how can we really figure it out? And now we can literally produce like micrograms of literal antimatter, like annihilation antimatter. Like we make that stuff. And it wasn't 50, 60 years ago that it was like, well, it might really be a thing. And so like, I 100% agree that like science fiction leads to science fact. Cause like it in the 50s or whatever, they must in some, you know, empty classroom somewhere thought like, hey, if we can do fission, if we can make these bombs, if we can make this fission thing work, the sun is doing this. The sun is working on fusion all the time. We must be able to, at least at some point in the future, like again, the math says it's possible. We just can't really do it yet. And that's where we're at now, is we're getting to a point where like we can. We're you know, transistors and magnets and all this stuff are getting advanced to a point where like, man, this stuff, it's not just a theory anymore. It's not just, well, you know, the math says like it should work. Like we can prove it, and it's amazing. 100% science fiction leads to science fact. Like it's a thing.
That is wild, dude. Something crazy is happening right now. So
what's up?
A bunch of people in chat were saying they couldn't find my live stream from Twitch yesterday because I streamed yesterday.
Yeah,
and so I went to Twitch, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck's going on? It says I'm still broadcasting. It says the broadcast is 19 hours and 36 minutes in, and I'm still broadcasting, and that's why they can't find the VOD to watch the thing. Have you ever seen this happen before?
From what I'm seeing, you are offline.
Because right now, like if I go into videos,
and your latest video is from 3 days ago.
Yeah, and it should be from yesterday. So this is weird because so I've never seen this before. It actually, if I go into my video producer on my dashboard, it says broadcasting for 2 events. It shows 2 events currently broadcasting. Says 59 viewers are watching the current broadcast. It's broadcasting for 20 hours now.
That's weird.
I have never seen this before. So if I go to, but I can't click on it. It won't let me click on it. It just says broadcasting, and it won't let me click on it to go to it. But I can highlight it. I can do a highlight. So here, let me do a highlight and see if it says that I've been streaming for like 20 hours. Oh, sorry. Hold on. If you guys can hear that. Yeah.
The video you linked, it and even still says last live 16 hours ago. The video you linked was from 20 hours ago.
Oh, so that video is only for like 4 hours long. It's not like 20 hours long.
Yeah, I see 4 hours, 5 minutes.
Dude, this thing's like all fuckered up. Hold on. I'm going to do a highlight, and then I'm just going to delete the
weird.
The ones
yeah,
you're broadcasting.
If you go to videos or past broadcasts, it says your last broadcast was 3 days ago.
This is so bizarre. I've never seen this happen before.
Twitch, man.
Like,
Twitch be twitching.
Get your shit together, Jeff. Damn. Okay, what's this? No, you have 0 copyright strikes. Oh, that's good. God, that's stupid. That's stupid. They pop up a big warning about copyright strikes. And you click on this, like, we would like to inform you of 0 copyright strikes.
Oh,
like,
thanks.
Don't tell me anything if I don't have, like, oh God, I hate this. All right, so I'm creating a highlight. Once the highlight is done, I will delete it. But right here, I'm going to take a screenshot of this because I don't think people are going to believe it. It literally says I'm still on the video page. It still says I'm broadcasting. And it says that I've been broadcasting for 19 hours and 39 minutes, and I'm broadcasting right now. But if I go to the page, it says I'm not broadcasting. And if I click on the thing that says I'm broadcasting, it's only 4 hours long. So obviously the broadcast ended.
Yeah.
So Twitch just got in this weird state. So that's why you guys can't see it. A couple of people said this on Twitter yesterday. I'm sorry, I'm addressing this on Tech Talk. But it's weird because a bunch of people on Twitter are like, I can't see it. It's like, dude, no, that was yesterday. But I deleted a stream from last week because shit went really bad at then. And I just didn't want to relive that shit. And everybody was clipping the bad part. So I nuked that show, and everybody was like, where was it? And I thought that they were talking about that show. But no, they were talking about yesterday's show not showing up. And sure enough, there's a bug right now on Twitch saying that I'm still streaming right now, even though I'm not. If you go to my page, which you said you did, right? So if you go to Twitch TV Barnacules, it says broadcaster currently isn't streaming. Yeah. So what in the hell?
Weird.
Twitch must have been having weird problems. Yes, Twitch was hacked by Russia and China to get them Bezos sweet monies.
Okay. Yeah, okay, because that is good.
This is weird, dude. I've never seen it do this before. Yeah, and sure enough, if you go down to home for recent broadcasts, you're right. It says 3 days ago for my latest broadcast. Weird. What the hell is wrong with this thing? All right, guys, I'll look at it more after Tech Talk, but I am creating a highlight, and once the highlight's done, that highlight should show up under videos. So let me see if it did. Hold on, I think. Okay, it says processing highlight, and then once that's done, it should the name of the episode should be called Windows 11 launch event, basically. Yeah, I've never seen Twitch do this. This is new behavior to me, but I don't like it because that worries me because it says I'm still streaming even though I'm not still streaming, and you can actually get in trouble on Twitch for like streaming
for
dead
nothing.
Air.
Yeah.
So
you're not
man,
though. You're not. As far as I can tell, you are not live.
Yeah, and even when it won't let me click on it and watch it because it claims it's still live under video, so it won't let me click the VOD. But if I actually just right click on the little dots and say go watch, it takes me to it, and it's 4 hours long. So obviously it did terminate at the right spot, and it's the right length and everything like that. So there's just some weird thing that's out of touch on their shit.
Yeah.
Oh, see, this is why I stream on multiple platforms, guys. People are like, why don't you just stream on YouTube? It's because every platform has its problems, and it's always good to have a backup. Like, did you see what happened to Whistle and Diesel? He got permanently banned from Instagram. That was his biggest platform, like way bigger than even YouTube, and it was like where he started like his whole career, like destroying vehicles and stuff. And he finally got banned off there.
Here's that fuse meme I was talking about.
Oh, here, link in chat. Okay, here, I want to see this. Reddit's, dude. I'm starting to get creeped out at the level of information that's being sold between sites. Like, dude, the other day, no shit, I get a notification on my phone. It's like, oh, dude, Reddit /this/this has a write-up on LG C1 OLED screens. Yep. Right after I bought them from Amazon, and I talked about them on Twitch. But I never went to Reddit. Like, I don't use Reddit. Like, Reddit is just a site I really don't use because it's just become cancerous. But I thought it was weird that I get this notification on my phone that's like, oh, dude, go to Reddit / I've never heard of this subreddit. And there's an article on these OLED screens. And it's a notification from Reddit. Like, this is specifically the Reddit app sending me a notification that I should go look at this stuff, even though I haven't looked at anything. I've never clicked on anything. I didn't look at anything about LGC1 on Reddit's site. So it's gleaning that from something else. And I thought that it was really weird that it did that like an hour after I bought the screens.
Yep.
So bizarre, man. Okay, so fuse replacement guide. You got a 100 amp, which is a nail, 250 amp, which is a aluminum foil. Hey, my dad was right. Look at that. Oh my God, 350 amp is a 223 cartridge.
I like this is like audio visual something.
That's messed up, dude. Yeah, audio alert. I love it. Audio visual auto alert. So if your fuse blows, you definitely hear it because it sounds like a gun going off. 600 amp, 1500 amp is a bolt, and then 2000 amp is a wrench, an 11 millimeter wrench.
Slow blow and all that.
Dude, what's the 16 amp? Is that cheese?
Yeah, it's like a cheese wrapper? Yeah.
Dude, this is hilarious. Dude, have you guys noticed that though? Like when you talk about stuff on social media, you'll go to completely unrelated sites and start getting suggested things to buy, like that are exactly what you're talking about. Like same thing happened on Amazon. Like I went to Amazon after doing the Twitch stream. Now, granted, Amazon owns Twitch, but on Twitch we were talking about the LG CX and the C1 screens, right? Like we were talking about like me potentially buying them, and I ended up buying them. They'll be here Monday, but I thought it was really weird that now I go to Amazon because I'm clicking a link to buy something that's completely unrelated to TVs, and down at the bottom it's like other customers bought this, and it's LG CX and LG C1. That's just, it's getting creepy, man. It's getting so creepy. QA Library said, are you going to make YouTube videos on the new screens? Yes, that is the goal. That is the goal. That's why I bought them. I actually did buy them to force me to do another Nerd Cave review. So and so I did pull the trick. God, that was nervous, dude. I haven't made a purchase that big in so long. I was like shaking that night. Oh, I was nervous, dude. I was nervous because it's one of those things where it's like, I can't afford to just willy-nilly buy that shit. I got to make that money back. Yeah. So, and that was a big bill. Like even with the sale, I mean, it was one of those things where it was like a perfect storm. The price of the screens came way down. The screen tech is actually the tech from the later generation, more expensive television. They found this out. LG was using the same production line and just throwing the same screens on their cheaper product and underdriving them. So there was all these like really good reasons to buy this C1 screen like right now before the prices start going up on them again. But to get 3 of the screens, because my setup has always been 3 screens, right? Like the big 3, to get 3 of them was still like with the cables, because I had to get special cables that could carry 48 gigabit a second. I had to get 2 adapters from Club Sport, which are the only adapters on the entire market they've cornered that can do this 120 hertz HDR Dolby Vision over 4K. And by the time I was all done with taxes and shipping and everything like that, and I got them from Costco so I can return them because OLEDs do have a high QC failure rate. So if something's dead, I can just take it back to Costco and order another one and have it delivered. But when I was all said and done, it was about $4,800. And I was like, my God, that's a fucking car, dude. Like that was a hard pill to swallow, like doing that. But I told myself, I was like, you know what? If I do this, these screens have been dying for a long time. So that's actually been like really depressing sitting in front of these things, all different brightness, fucking backlight shining through. Pixels are dead on this one. So I'm like, it's going to force me to take these screens out. But these screens also have all the support and they're like bolted into the desk and everything like that, which means I have to take the whole desk apart. I have to take all the wiring out from under the desk to put the new screen in. So basically I bought the one thing that forces me to tear the whole room apart to put them in. So I'm hoping that basically forces me now to come in and like put this all back together. And then that'll be a nice motivational space for me to work again.
Do it. Awesome.
So, environment's everything, dude. Like you probably would agree with this too. It's like if you have a nice, clean environment where you know where everything is and it's like inspiring, right? It's like it motivates you. It makes you want to do stuff in that room. You feel comfortable. But if it's a hugely messy space and you can't find anything, and it's like just dirty and it's chaos. It's you can't think straight.
Yeah.
Like it just sucks all the motivation out of you. And like I look around my room and it's like, oh, racing simulator, half built in pieces in the corner, right? Can't just plug it in and use it. All my camera equipment spread to the four winds. Can't even walk around because there's like 1,000 boxes on the floor with just shit poured out everywhere where I was looking for stuff. And it's like you just can't concentrate. Like even on my desk, it's like my whole desk. You can't even see the desk. It's all covered off. You think it's bad here. Nah. It's way, way worse where you guys can't see it over here. It's like a mound. So I'm hoping that by going through there and clean this up, I can do a lot of stuff that I haven't done yet, like install the new sound system, reposition the computer under the desk and free it up here so that I can put my NASs and stuff up here in the background where they're more accessible. I can do all the wiring because I'd say 80% of the wiring that's under my desk right now is connected to nothing. Because every time I got new stuff, I just ran new wires. I never took the old wires out. So it's like just a chaos bundles of wires. So I want to get under there and, actually like, staple and hot glue up the rings to run the wires through and everything. So it's going to be kind of a drawn out process, and I'll probably time lapse a bunch of it and make like little mini videos and then make, the big videos again. But I really do want to come back to YouTube. Like that's the thing that I love live content. We've talked about this before. I love live content. I love doing the live streams. That's actually my passion now. But I have this itch to make videos again. Like I really legitimately love sitting down and editing videos and like telling a story with it. And I've been missing out on that for like over a year. So hopefully this kickstarts that or just runs me into the ground, debt and bankrupt sooner. We'll see. It could go either way, guys. Stay tuned. Drama. You're gonna need boxes for all those cables. No, that's the thing is I got to get rid of a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna be putting a lot of listings on like the local Facebook groups and stuff for porch pickups, just for big boxes of cables and stuff. I have way too much stuff that I'll never ever use again. Like, and you probably can relate to this, right? It's like, I probably have 1,000 power cables, like those the standard PC type power
classic
cables.
D shape, Ugh.
Exactly. And I have like old ones that are like gray and shit and like really stiff and too short to use. And because they just go in boxes. I have my power cable box, then I have another power cable box. And after a while, you're like, why am I keeping all these power cables? Because it's the most plentiful thing on planet Earth. Maybe it won't be in 20 years, but I'll worry about that in 20 years, right? I'll just keep enough that I need. I also don't understand like why I kept so many like old cables that don't even exist anymore. Like I have serial cables. I have 9-pin serial cables. I have proprietary cables for like plugging into cell phones from like the 90s. Like, just throw it away. The only thing I'm probably going to keep is my power adapter, like my power brick collection, like my AC wall wart. I have like 3 or 4 boxes of just every AC wall wart ever. And I find myself dipping in there all the time and cutting the ends off and splicing them on other things, the power devices and Arduinos.
I was just thinking about doing something like that with my fans. I got these Noctua Industrials.
Yep.
Right. And I know they're like 12 volt. Yeah. DC 12 volt. I don't want to ruin this end of it. Right. But I want to wire them up to like my USB port or something. So I can be like, 3,000 RPMs.
Yeah. And if you have like an old, if you can find like an old power supply that's dead or something like that and just cut the connectors off of it, then you could just wire that connector into an AC wall wart and plug it in, and then you wouldn't have to splice anything. That's what I do. That's like what I do with everything is I just cut the end off of it and then just rewire another cable. That way I don't have to alter the thing I'm plugging into power.
There we go.
Like another thing I hate is those AC adapters. Always they put those barrel plugs on the end, but there's like 50 different types of barrel plugs with like different polarity. Like is the outside positive and the inside negative? Is that swap the polarity? Is it bigger? Is it smaller? But a bunch of them just use the same voltage. It's like 12 volt 1 amp.
Yeah.
Like even though they use a million different barrel types. So what I'll do is sometimes I'll take them and I'll get two little power supplies and I'll chop the end off one and splice it onto the other one and then plug it into the thing and it works just fine. Well, most of the time I did fry one thing doing that, but now I'm careful, like look at the stuff and check it with a multimeter first. But no, it's like, and I have them for everything. I even have ones like from old Dell laptops that are crazy voltages, like 19.1. And so you plug that into a 12 volt fan and now the fan's just like hauling ass, right? I'm sure it's not going to last very long. But it's like, you hook up something 19 volts to something analog and all of a sudden it goes faster, at least for a little bit of time. But no, you can do all kinds of these. And then you get something like this, dude, like $6 on Amazon. These little like remote control outlets.
Yeah.
Dude, they're awesome. Like so I can pick up my phone or my Amazon and just say, hey, turn on nutsack cooler. And my fan over here under my desk that's buried under there turns on. So I don't have to climb under my desk to turn my fan on anymore. I got one on my cable modem. So now I can just tell the cable modem to power cycle and it'll power cycle my cable modem without having to go down and get in the closet. These things are handy as shit. So you like cut off that cable, put it on your fan, stick one of these on it, and then with your phone or your computer, or you could even write an OBS script where people could turn your fan on and off like during the stream. Yeah. Like if you want to cool somebody down. Like I was even looking at like how to do that with like these USB fans, right? You can also buy these that you can use for powering USB devices on and off too, so that you can charge during off-peak hours and stuff. They make all kinds of little different versions of these. So you plug in a little fan like this, or like your little desk fan on there, hook it up to this, and then set like an IFTT script that says if the temperature in my area goes above 80 degrees, turn on my little fan. So automation is cool, man. Automation is something I'm hugely passionate about that I want to get back into doing, because I did it for so long for Microsoft and then didn't really do it for myself. I automated little things, but I never did like the whole meal deal. Like I want to automate everything. I want to have every light. At some point, I want every light bulb in my house to be like addressable and be able to tell it to turn on or off. I want every outlet in my house and every device powered on and off with my voice. I want to do like, really.
I wanted to get to that point too.
Yeah. Here's another cool use for these that I don't think many people have come up for. I have a subwoofer in my room because I have like, I watch most of my movies and stuff in my bedroom because I got a bad back and that's the only place I get comfortable for like 3 hours to watch a movie. I have a subwoofer in there. The problem is my wife, she can't handle the subwoofer at night when she's sleeping. So I can pull out the stereo remote and go in and say, oh, turn the volume down on the subwoofer, right? Like I go into the menus, and then you forget, and the next day you turn it on, then you got to go find the menu item in the AV receiver and turn it back up again and hope you remember the number. No, hook one of these to the subwoofer. That's all you do. You just say turn off the subwoofer, and the subwoofer just turns off, and you get audio through everything else. And then when it's the morning and she's awake and not there, you tell it to turn the subwoofer back on, and you just tell Alexa to turn it on and off.
Yeah, this guy Opa YA. He says you can't power cycle your modem if your internet's not working. Those remote outlets are connected to Chinese servers.
Wrong.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
Wrong.
Yeah, I'm like, wouldn't it? Well, and wouldn't it just? Yeah, I suppose that. Yeah, because like I have a, I think it's Autonomy is the cheeseball brand of like RGB Wi-Fi light, and that one probably reports back through the app or something to somewhere. But like I know that they make things that are purely local. Like it only
these
just
operate in both. You can put these. This is a TP link. Okay. And I bought them during the Amazon Prime Day. It was the only thing I bought that I could actually like afford and wanted. They're called Casa Smart Wi-Fi Plug. And they have an app, but they also have an unofficial API that's on GitHub, so you can access them directly through your LAN. Yeah. But what I like about these is they operate in local mode. So if you disconnect your internet connection, it just goes into local mode, and as long as it can see them on the local network, it'll control them directly.
Yeah.
So I use it for my modem because pfSense is my DHCP server, not my cable modem. So I still have a fully functional LAN even when the internet's down. And I tested it. Like I can say turn off the modem, and then 10 seconds later I can tell it to turn it back on. Now you're not going to have IFTTT tell it, because if this then that's on the internet, but you can run your own local program. And if you want to see what I used with my Belkin Wemo switches, which I'm adapting now to these, I have a CodeGasm project. Just do a search for like CodeGasm and Wemo, WEMO. And I wrote a little program that basically will detect when my internet connection's down by pinging my gateway. And if it fails to ping my gateway, it power cycles the modem off for 10 seconds, power cycles the modem back on for 10 seconds, waits 2 minutes, tries to ping the gateway. If it fails to ping the gateway, it powers the modem off for like another 30 seconds, turns it back on, and it'll keep power cycling the modem until DHCP allocates an IP and it can reach the gateway again. And it works really damn good. Now, the reason that I never fixed it after the Belkin Wemo switch stopped working was because I got a new cable modem that didn't lose connection hardly ever. It's like maybe I power cycled it once every 3 months. But now I'm altering the software to do a new thing. So now not only is it power cycling the modem just to get the internet connection back, it's actually changing the MAC address of the network card connected to the modem on pfSense, and then power cycling the modem so that I get a new IP address every time I tell it. So it'll turn the modem off, change my MAC address, turn the cable modem back on, new MAC address from pfSense, requests an IP address from the modem, and it goes, oh, a new device is connected to the network and gives me a brand new IP address every time. So now I don't have to worry about my internet provider keep giving me back the same IP address that somebody, some 12-year-old's DDoSing on Xbox Live. So cool shit, man. Software automation, it's the best. Don't worry, when I finish the software, I'll share it with all you guys too.
Yeah.
So because I want everybody. I mean, dude, $6 and you got something that can intelligently manage your internet connection. And plus, if you're at work and your internet goes down at home, then this automation, what it's going to do is cycle your modem until it gets the connection back online, where even if your internet provider fixes the problem, sometimes the cable modems won't lock again. I've had this problem where you have to power cycle. As a matter of fact, you call your ISP and they're like, did you power cycle the modem? When it won't get an IP address, because even if they turned off their stuff and it broke the link, them turning it back on doesn't always guarantee that it's going to send a new IP address to your modem and it's going to work well again. Like sometimes you do have to power cycle the modem. So just having something that just does that automatically for you until it gets another IP address just guarantees that you're going to have a better chance of connecting to your home computer when you're away on vacation and stuff like that. So there's a lot of cool reasons to do it. I mean, $6, right? I don't know what they are now. I mean, after Amazon Prime Day, maybe they went up to like $10 or something. I'm not really sure, but it's a model HS103 if you guys want to look it up. And I have tested these and I've been playing with them for about a week now, and they're awesome. I love them. And they're way better than the Belkin Wemo switches. My God, the Belkin Wemo switches were absolute trash. You could only plug in one per outlet. They're absolutely massive. They have a bug in them that you have to exploit to automate them outside of the application. Whereas with these, you don't have to exploit a bug. Like these, you can just send commands directly to them in plain text over the network. It's just super easy. How old are my current screens? Mechberg asked. Oh, these are, I think they're pushing 6 years. They're about 6 years old. And the screens were manufactured. They were out for about a year before I bought them. So they're probably like 7-year-old technology. They're 4K. I believe they're like 600 nit, 500 to 600 nit total brightness. They're not bright at all. They're really not. And they've gotten dim, like really dim. Like most of my screens didn't get dim over time. These ones got really dim over time. So like at max brightness, these things aren't very bright at all. They have no HDR. They do 4K at 4x4x4 with an adapter, but only 60 hertz, no HDR, no G-Sync, no FreeSync, and shitty contrast. So like literally when the screens are off, they still look like gray. Like they're not even black. They're like legit gray. But the new screens that I have coming that I'm super excited about on Monday. Oh my God, I couldn't be more excited because there isn't a better screen. It is literally the best looking screen that, in my opinion, you can get with an exception to the slightly brighter G series that you can get. But no, OLEDs are dude, you've seen OLED, right? Like
dude, yeah. I almost talked my lady into one of the C series ones, not the CX.
Like the C1
for Black Friday this past.
It was a C9 then, probably like the one before the CX.
I think it was. Well, they had, so Costco had them both. And I think I was trying to talk her into not the CX because that's like the newest one, or at the time. And but we went with
C9, CX, and C1. So C9 was before the CX.
We got it's like the next model series down from the C series instead.
Yep.
So it's not OLED, but it's still pretty good. Because like really, it doesn't. I like the idea of like those crispy blacks and like all that, right? Because like even now I notice I'm like, man, these black bars are not black, but it's okay. It's enough. And it looks great. Like nobody's complaining, and so.
Yeah, you were looking at like I think it's like the B series nano cell from LG. It's like
I'd have to
look for a quarter of the price of the OLEDs.
Yeah,
they look good though. They do look good.
Yeah, and what I think the big kicker was we got a bigger one than we would have for the C, and it fits. It like fills the whole space above our fireplace. That
nice
where the TV goes with it. I'm talking. I have like literally maybe a quarter inch from the top. I'm lifting this thing up and I'm like, I don't know if it's going to fit. And it just fits like, boom, it's perfect. So that's cool.
Awesome. No, the thing I'm really excited about these screens. I've wanted an OLED screen for a long time, even just as a TV. And I never did because they were like $7,000 when I got my Q7N or whatever for a screen that was like, I want to say 10 inches smaller. It was like $7,000 at the time that I bought that. Now OLED has come way down in price. Like now it's like actually reasonable. Like OLED today is about the same price as what I paid for like my QLED like 3 years ago. And the cool thing about OLED, and you have to see it in person. Like it'll never be come across on camera, obviously, because you're watching it on a TV that's not OLED. But the thing about an OLED screen, which you've probably seen on some mobile devices, but when you blow it up full screen on like a big screen with like an inky black background, is you could show a star field on the screen and there will be no light bleed between the pixels at all. Like you can see a single super bright pixel and nothing around it will have a halo, no bloom or anything. So you can have absolute perfect contrast between like, it's almost infinite contrast. So like when you turn out the light, you will never see a more vivid picture. Now, if it's a bright room, then you start seeing the benefit of like QLED and stuff where you have a really bright backlight grid. Yeah. But if you're in a room that's like somewhat low light or in a dark room, there's nothing that looks like OLED. It literally looks true to life. It is absolutely fantastic. And the other cool thing is because OLED, each pixel is creating its own light. It's like each pixel is its own LED, right? On an OLED screen. Like every tiny little micropixel on there is its own light source. Because of that, because you don't have a backlight shining through it, not only do you not get bloom, but you also get insanely fast pixel response. And when you turn the pixel on and off, you don't get any of that weird retention of light like you do with an LCD where it like glows for like a second. So you get like this blur. It's like you turn it off and you turn it back on, and you can do that like hundreds of times a second. That's why they can get insanely high refresh rates with OLEDs. And so I'm super excited because these screens are 48-inch. They do 120 hertz native at 4K, meaning no interpolation. That's straight from the computer. They support G-Sync and FreeSync. So I'll be able to use the graphics card to do the frame syncing and variable frame rate. It also does HDR. I think it's HDR10. It also does Dolby Vision, which is like something that the new consoles support and like the new movie like format for how it manages the lighting and color. But it's got features on it for like it's rated the #1 gaming monitor. Like if you look at like any screen that's used for gaming, it always wins in like all the shootouts for like the ultimate gaming, whether you're PC gaming or whether you're console gaming. It's like for gaming, it wins hands down for everything. The ding against it though, and this is why people get scared away from it using it as a PC monitor, is the burn-in. OLEDs are incredibly sensitive to burn-in, like where the image actually gets permanently burnt in for certain colors on the screen. But the new generation of OLEDs, they have done so much stuff to mitigate that, but they haven't been around long enough to test it. So it's a little bit of a risk me doing this as computer monitors, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. How is OLED different than CRT? Oh,
I wanted to ask if you were just goofing, but I didn't want to like type it out and seem like an asshole because like that could have been a genuine question, or are you just like goofing? Because like,
well, in the off chance that he's not goofing, organic. Difference. So organic LED or OLED, each tiny little itty bitty pixel is a light source. So you have a red LED, a green LED, a blue LED, and they're in a tiny little group that manifests 1 pixel. And it just gives out its own light. No backlight, no LCD. What you are seeing when you're looking at the screen and the color coming at you is coming directly from the LEDs themselves.
So just to get a proper like mental image, you know, like an LED, right? Like the classic like dome shaped with the 2 wires coming out of it. LED,
miniaturized version.
Same concept.
Yep,
tinier. Or like you'll see like professional. Actually, I might have one close at hand. I can show you. Yeah, here we go. So this is a professional like photography light. These are what LEDs look like nowadays.
Exactly.
Okay. See, each one of those yellow squares is that's actually a really big LED compared to the LEDs that are in televisions and screens. Well, some screens. These days, because a lot of are LCDs, which is a whole nother sort of thing. But they've shrunk those little yellow squares down to like tiny to pixel size. Each one of those is tiny, and those individually light up.
And you have 3 of them per pixel.
Red, green, and blue.
So you have a red, green, and a blue.
Some will do yellow.
Yeah, they have YCBR or whatever, like the reference video monitors.
I think Samsung tried to push that for a little bit. They added a 4th one for yellow, and it's like why?
So the way like an LCD, like most screens that you see, it doesn't matter if it's TN, IPS, they use a liquid crystal display, which is basically a film that just gets a shade. Basically, it just changes a shade in color, right? So you have like a red, a blue, and a green LCD, and then you have white light shining through the back of it. You basically have like a big LED behind it shining through them, and then they change their shade and how opaque they are, and that's how much light comes through at you in the color and wavelength
through the voltage. So there'll be a backlight along the bottom of the monitor, which shines a bright white light
behind it now. They do this like dynamic backlighting shit now. Yeah, it's wild.
And so there'll be a volt on one side and a volt on the top, and each cross section will either open or close the liquid crystal matrix.
Yep.
Ooh, fancy words.
And how open and how close it is based on the voltage.
Depending on how much those crystals will align differently to allow different amounts of the various colored light to come through.
It's cool.
It's really neat, actually.
Really cool. But the thing is, like, is OLED, the reason that the technology is so expensive is because each pixel is like also the light source, right? Whereas with liquid crystal, you could have one backlight giving the light for an entire group of pixels. It's not one-to-one. Like on an OLED, each pixel is its own light source. On even the best like QLED screens that they have today, you still have a white LED that's behind the liquid crystal matrix that's lighting up an entire group of them. And the way that it blocks the light from coming through is by sending the maximum voltage to the little LCD shutters so that they all close to not to light the light through, but some light still gets through.
Yep.
So and that's where you get that like bloom effect around everything.
And that's why like you'll see like cheesy LCD screens and stuff, like cheap ones will actually have light bleed and stuff along the edges.
Dude, even the expensive ones do.
Yeah.
they develop it, like every Samsung screen I've ever had develops light bleed like around the outer edges and in the corners.
Important thing to point out as well.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about the OLED things. The burn-in thing I'm not too worried about now because I feel like they've mitigated after like the third generation. They have like pixel refreshers and they go through and it has its own calibration equipment inside the TV every 400 hours that rebalances all the pixels. It's pretty cool.
If I leave my TV on for too long, it will go black and then it'll do this random like RGB like firework thing. And it says like you can wake your TV up, and it's to keep the burn in from happening. It like slowly, it like just expands these like this. It looks like a firework.
And to be clear, LCDs can burn in too because over time that shutter, if you keep opening the shutter up and down, sometimes it'll start wearing out and it won't open quite as much for each voltage. And then after that happens with a bunch of things that have pinned it open for so long, you'll start getting a little bit of a ghosting. Like it looks like an etched image into your screen, but it's not really etched into your screen. It's just the shutters are weaker.
Yeah, and that'll happen like when you play. If you play, as an example, my brother put in like something like 800 hours into Oblivion or something, and I had an old like first gen plasma TV, and part of the UI actually ghosted for a while. It was just there kind of as a fuzzy sort of ghosting. It did eventually go away, but because you put so many hours and there's parts of the UI that don't ever change, right? They're just always there. And it burned.
The other cool thing about OLED, and it's actually they had to figure out a way to mitigate this when watching movies, is the pixels can turn on and off so fast. Whereas with an LCD, they can't because the light source is so much bigger behind the pixels, right? They're not these tiny itty bitty little super sensitive light sources. The time that it's on and off, you get this ghosting effect where it takes it like for the pixel to go full white, then back to black again. There's too much time that passes. So you end up getting like if something's really fast moving on the screen, you get like this ghosting effect. You don't get that with OLED because the pixels can turn on so fast and turn off so fast that they even have to put a black frame. They call it black frame insertion just to make the video look right because these things can turn on and turn off so fast. They actually insert a black frame where they basically say, oh, just go ahead and leave all the lights off instead of transitioning them to the next frame. Leave them all off for like a microsecond. Just because the human eye like wigs out seeing it because it flickers. It can turn off and turn on so freaking quickly that it fucks with you. It looks wrong. So they do this black frame insertion thing to like mitigate that because the pixels can turn on and off so damn fast. But it also means that at 120 hertz with G-Sync and stuff like that, you can have text moving blisteringly fast across the screen without getting any streaking, even with a high-speed camera. Like it just looks so damn cool. But look at one if you ever get the chance. Plus, the biggest reason like that I think OLED, like other than contrast obviously is the reason why you get an OLED, like number one. Number two, though, is the vividness of the color. Like if you've ever seen an OLED screen in person, the colors go so far beyond what an LCD can achieve. Like because you're not having to block color. That's the thing with LCD screens. You have to literally block the color coming through. You're blocking some of the red so that more blue gets through. You're blocking some of the blue so more green gets through to mix the color, right? To give you what you're looking at. So you're very limited in the saturation that you get. With an OLED, since you're not blocking any of the light from the LED at all, like you're not purposefully putting a shutter in front of it to dim it down. You get all that depth of color coming through, and it looks like true to life. Like, have you ever seen the demos they do where they put like a picture frame with like a Picasso or something on an OLED screen hanging on the wall, and it looks like a picture, like in broad daylight? Like it doesn't even look like a screen. It literally looks like a painting hanging on the wall. And it's because OLED is the only thing I've seen that can achieve that. Every other screen technology I've seen, you look at it and you're like, oh, I can kind of tell because of the backlight and the way that it's shining through. You can tell that it's like a digital backlit image. With OLED, you don't. It just literally looks like pure color. It's awesome. QA Library said, what are the nit settings on your screens? These ones I'm not sure. I think these only achieve about 600 in reality when I did the color, when I put my colorometer on them, even though they claim 1500, which is bullshit. I think the OLED screens are a little bit brighter than these, but OLEDs aren't known for being super bright. Like if you want a light cannon of a screen for like a really bright room, like adjacent to a window, instead of OLED, you'd probably want to go with something like a QLED or something like that. Has an insanely strong backlight. But if you have any kind of light control in the room and it's like, your room is like, lit well, but dimly lit, you don't have any direct light on the screen, the OLED is going to look way better. It genuinely, it'll look better because remember, contrast is perceived. So if you're in a dark room, if you've ever watched a projector, they look completely washed out in a lit room. Yeah. But you're in a dark room and they're like the brightest thing ever because your eyes adjust and they see that contrast range. It doesn't matter where that range is once your eye adjusts to it. It's like, even if it's dim and you're in a dark room, as long as they can do the contrast in like infinite steps, it still looks to your brain like it's brighter. It's hard to explain, but I've even noticed this myself with my QLED screen. When I turn the brightness up all the way, and I'm in a lit room, it looks awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like QLED screen, way brighter than an OLED. So like with all the lights on in my room and the windows open and sunlight coming in, looks absolutely gorgeous. Like I'd rather watch that than the OLED like during the daylight. But if you turn the light down in the room and you put the OLED, literally it looks like this giant gray flashlight pointing at your face during a dark scene. Whereas the OLED is absolute pitch black. And if it's a dark scene, you couldn't tell where the TV was in the room in a dark room. Like there is no light. It's not a little bit of light. It's not a little bit. There's no light. It is completely off. And another thing too is they only use the power for the pixels that are lit. So where an LCD TV, you have the backlight constantly going. Well, unless you have the newer ones where it has zones, you have these backlights constantly going. Whereas if you only have one pixel lit on a OLED, it's only using power to light one pixel. Whereas on a regular conventional screen, you're drawing a lot more power, because you're having to run the backlights. Now, the flip side of that is you draw a shitload of power when you light up all the pixels on the screen at once. So it's better for dark scenes, but not as good for bright scenes, power consumption wise. Like if you have the whole screen solid white, every single pixel is powered to 100%, you're probably drawing like 200 plus watts or 250 plus watts on the screen that the LED counterpart would be brighter and use like half the power.
Yeah.
Let's hear. OLEDs can absorb UV and damage itself. They put a protective layer over the screen so that doesn't happen. So because they know that they're going to be put in rooms where there's direct sunlight coming in the windows and stuff like that. So the modern OLEDs actually have a filter on the front of the screen that prevents anything coming in and damaging them. But that doesn't affect burn-in coming from the other side. Unfortunately, the LEDs can wear out. But here's how they mitigate it. I thought this was really cool, dude. So old LEDs would burn in if you had static things on the screen. So they suck for gaming. They suck for gaming because if you were playing a game and you had like a health bar down on the bottom of your screen that was like 90% of the time, it was the same graphic in the same exact place. What it would do is it would wear out those colored LEDs faster than everything else on the screen. So then if you turned on another scene that was full red or whatever the color of the bar was, you would see that difference and it would look like a shadow. It would look like it was physically etched into the screen. Well, the way that they fix that now is the newer OLED screens like the CX and the C1. What they do is they have this thing called it's like pixel conditioner or pixel restorer. And what it does is it'll run a diagnostic every 400 hours on the screen to figure out which pixels have lost a little bit of brightness, and it'll push more power to them, or it'll take power away from the other pixels on the screen to rebalance them. And it'll go through and power cycle all the pixels on the screen through all their different colors after 2000 hours. It'll go through into a cycle. It takes like 2-3 hours. It'll go through and like basically recondition all the pixels on the screen again so that you basically take all that burn-in out. Now, extreme burn-in, it's not going to fix. But the idea being is if this runs regularly, which it's all fully automated, as long as you don't unplug the TV, it'll just do it on its own when you're not using it. It's supposed to stay ahead of this so you never get a bad burn-in. It'll prevent it before it happens, which I think is really freaking cool. So a lot of people don't do this. A lot of people don't do the OLED because of the risk of burn-in and using it as a PC monitor and some of the other downsides. But I did a ton of research, and I know it's a little bit of a risk, but there's just something about the way OLED screens work. And plus, find me another screen that does this. Find me another screen that has like near infinite contrast, 120 hertz, G-Sync, and HDR all at the same time. Like basically it supports every single feature that you can get out of like a 3080 or a 3090. And I couldn't find another screen that did that. They all were lacking in one area. Like some of them did 120 hertz, but didn't have G-Sync. Some of them had G-Sync, but they were only 60 hertz. I found a couple that did HDR, but they wouldn't do HDR at 4x4x4 at 120 hertz. Like they dropped it down to 4x2x2. There was all kinds of like mixtures where you couldn't get it all. The CX and the C1 are the only screens that I found that like literally can do every single mode, like all of it up to 10-bit, which I think is pretty freaking cool. So I don't know how that's going to come across on camera though. Like, you know, obviously if I shoot videos on it and stuff, I'm going to have to do some post processing to like exaggerate the effect so that people on normal monitors can like see what I'm seeing. So I'll have to figure out how to do that. But just like with VR, until you experience it yourself, you're never going to know like why it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And if you've ever watched like a video of somebody like reviewing an OLED screen, they look really good because they'll photo process it and make it look really good for YouTube on your screen. But it can only look as good as your screen can show it. Right? Like if you watch a review for like a really good OLED panel on a projector in a bright room, you're going to be like, man, that looks like shit. Why would anybody spend the extra money to get that? But when you see it in person, you're just like blown away. You're like, wow, how can something look that real and that good? Oh, wow. We got some people that have been very, very generous over the last hour here. Brian, thank you for the £5. He said, cool tool, reciprocating tool. I think that's when we were talking about David doing his work in his house. Oh, Johnny Winter, thank you for the 20 Danish kronars. He said Denmark, he. Denmark, was that one of the places where
they won the soccer game?
That was the soccer thing. Okay, got it. Villarat, thank you for the $5. He said, I'd like to see what Aptera does with them promising 250, 500, and 1,000 mile cars with solar. I've never heard of Aptera. So they're doing solar cars? I mean, I can't imagine solar cars being like the amount of power that you need to move a vehicle that's super heavy, and they keep getting heavier, right? Because you have to have more safety requirements. So cars keep getting heavy. I mean, cars are like 1,500 or 2,000 pounds heavier than they were back in the 80s because of the safety equipment. So that means you're going to need more fuel to move them, which means you need to create more efficient ways to do it. I don't know. I shouldn't say never, right? I mean, they do crazy shit all the time. They may figure out how to create a solar panel that's 100% efficient and a motor that's 100% efficient and, you know, find some fucking way to do this. Let's hear Brian PC. Thank you for the £5. He said, when I was 16, I went camping and dried my clothes on an electric fence. Wait, how does that work?
Well, that would probably burn your clothes up.
So what did you do? Like connect it across the wires or run it to ground? So it was basically just like shorting out through your shirt.
I think you didn't realize.
Or did you just hang it on it and the wind happened to like dry your clothes? That'd be pretty funny. Hey, Theodorus, he said, when you get the new LEDs, I'd recommend setting as much stuff as possible to dark mode. It's probably going to wear out the pixels much slower, and those perfect OLED blacks look cool.
Nicer on your eyeballs.
Yeah, no. That's the thing is another reason why I wanted OLED is eye strain. OLEDs are much, much, much better for eye strain over time. So, yeah, and here's the thing. I understand that these screens at some point are going to burn in or they are going to get dim. It's like I'm not expecting this technology to last forever, right? It's you get all that cool shit. Because I want to use it. I want to see it at its prime. Like I don't want to like soften the experience to squeeze another year out of them. It's like I'm going to run them as hard as I can into the fucking dirt, and then when they die, I'm either never going to be able to afford to get them again, or somehow I'm magically making YouTube videos again, and somehow I can afford to get like new ones later down the road. Either way, we'll find out. But I'm gonna run them to their potential. That's one thing that I'm not. A lot of people recommended. Oh, drop it down like 50% brightness and don't do this and don't do this. And it's like no, but I want to get these to get the maximum best freaking image quality and experience that I can out of them. Like period. So I'm not going to compromise that because it's like, why even do it if why buy a sports car if you're never going to drive it over 60 miles an hour? You know what I mean? Or accelerate 0 to 60 in like a millisecond. Like why get something unless you're going to use it? So, but if it does, if they do succumb and they start to burn in or something like that, then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to track that experience too. And I'll make videos on that. And I'll make videos on why it was a bad idea. And I'll make videos on like what I could have done differently to potentially mitigate those problems. And then I'll take all the money that I made from making the videos of how not to do that and then go buy a technology that doesn't do that. So that's my, I don't know. Does that seem like a good plan? Does that sound like a good exit strategy to you?
I think so. Yeah.
It's like you can still educate people with a bad experience. It doesn't have to be a good experience. But the one thing I can tell you is this may not be a good experience right from the beginning, because OLEDs, I've read now the C1s are kind of an exception. I think the C1s have had a much better success rate, but like with the CXs and the C9s, there were a lot of people that got these screens that had ununiform color distribution on the screens. They had color accuracy problems. They had dead pixels. They had streaking. They had burn-in like right out of the box. Like there was a lot of dead shit. So the return rates on OLEDs are higher than just about any other panel type. So that's why I bought them from Costco. I specifically, because people are like, oh, buy them from Best Buy and you can get like this burn-in warranty and for like $300. I was like, no, the reason I'm buying them from Costco is because I'm going to make sure I get 3 perfectly matched screens. If I get 3 screens on Monday and one of them has dead pixels and the other one has bad streaking and color uniformity problems, those 2 go back in the box. I drive them to Costco, drop them off, order 2 more, and they're headed to my house online. And then if one of those 2 is fucked, drive it to Costco, dump it off, go grab another. I may have to go through this like 3 or 4 times to get 3 perfectly matched screens that are close to each other.
Yeah. And
so that's why I chose to buy them from Costco instead of somewhere else, was just because that's an easy, if I have to go through that, which there's a high probability I will, then I'm good to go. But there also is a chance, because these are the C1s and they're not the CXs, so these are relatively new screen that are made on the new assembly line using the new assembly technology for the Evo panels that they put in the G series. There's a good chance that I may get all these screens, pull them out, and they're all just perfect. And if they are, I'm going to share that experience too. So I'm pretty excited. The Smash TV Network said, stay 1 trillion% away from OLEDs. No, bro, I'm running right at OLEDs. OLEDs are my life's blood, man. There is no other technology that comes close to what I want other than these. Otherwise, I'd be getting that instead. Did I know that John McAfee died? Had no idea, Zeno. Had no idea. Did you hear about that? Did you hear John McAfee died? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know, dude. I didn't know, bro.
Man, I didn't know he died. I mean, it was a couple days ago, but
I didn't hear about it. Nobody told me about it until just now.
Yeah. No, it's yeah.
I'm sorry. It just yesterday when I was live streaming on Twitch, every like 2 minutes a new person joined the stream. It was like, dude, did you hear John McAfee died? It got so bad that I had to put a thing physically on the screen that said we already talked about it, because the entire chat was like, did you? I mean, I get it. It's kind of a big deal. Most people in the tech sector understand who McAfee is. He's right up there with Kim.com and the guy that's in Russia that we won't let come back home that like outed our government fucking us, Snowden.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
it's
like, look, it happens to me too, but you and I spend an enormous amount of time on social media.
Yeah.
There are very few things that are relevant to our interests that we don't come across.
Very true. Very true. Not to say you wouldn't be the first in some cases, but like there's always the first person that lets me know if I don't see it. But I'm just saying, like, don't get freaked out if we're like, oh, we've heard that a million times before.
I'm still very don't let that comment like dissuade you from putting things in front of us. Because there's a lot out there. But yeah, there is a good chance. I would say 80% that we've probably seen it.
Dude, there's some people there's some button pushers in chat right now. Well, I'm not gonna say any names, but there's some button pushers going on in chat right now. Hey, did you work for Microsoft?
I didn't hear about that.
Oh my god, you worked for Microsoft? No way,
man. Have you tried
CBD?
No, that's not true.
Dude,
if the sun warmed the earth, then why is there snow on the mountains?
Yeah,
the mountains is closer to the sun. Wouldn't it be hotter?
Yep.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. Get out of here.
Yeah, and plus, like last I heard reading the Bible, heaven is like this warm utopia that's all like beautiful and nice and lush and everything like that. So why is the shit that's closer to heaven colder? I don't get it. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't. Like, is everybody freezing their ass off in heaven? Does everybody have to like put on like a mink stole? Do you get a mink stole at the door to keep you nice and toasty? Come on, bro. Come on. Actually, I got a cute story to tell. So my son, Xander, he's 11 years old. And he's on the spectrum, so a lot of people don't notice anymore. Though his therapy has been fantastic. Like I cannot believe how just like normie he is these days. But my gosh, is he smart? The other day I sat down and just started asking him questions because he kept telling me things I didn't know. Like we'd be watching like a car show and he'd start telling me about like technology I never heard of, and like how new engine technology works. I'm like, how the hell does this kid know all this stuff? Is he just like because he has a really good memory. He has a nearly photographic memory. So I'm like, he's just reciting stuff back to me. He doesn't understand what he's saying. He's just repeating it back to me. So I decided to test him, and I sat down and talked to him, and it ended up being like an hour-long conversation where I asked him about fusion and fission and power generation and space flight and astrophysics and the Large Hadron Collider. And I'm trying to stump him, and he's just like nailing everything, dude. Like he's like Doogie Howser, just every single thing. So I
love it.
I did not realize this about my son. Like, because, he struggles in areas where he's not interested, but when he's interested, oh my God, his retention and comprehension is through the roof. And I was blown away. I was like, how do viruses work? And he's like, oh, it's an RNA payload. And when it enters your cell through the proteins or whatever, it writes its code in and your cell starts doing its work for you. And I'm like, what? Like, how do you know this stuff? Seriously, what I was asking him, like we were talking about power generation, and he starts going through and talking about like how wind power works and how solar power works and how hydroelectric works. And I'm like, well, how does nuclear work? And he's like, well, fusion or fission. I'm like, what? I was like, well, no, current power plants that we have like today. He's like, oh, those are fission. Yeah. He's like, those are fission. And then he explains to me that fission, he's like, oh, you take the big things and you hit them and break them into two smaller things, and that releases a whole bunch of energy. And I'm like, okay, then what's fusion? He's like, well, you take the two things and you bond them together, and then that releases a bunch of energy. And I'm like, he like understands. Anyways, for me, I was completely blown away. Yeah. My 11-year-old kid who, he struggles with some things. And he excels at other things, but in school he struggles with some things like, certain story problems and stuff like that when it's stuff that doesn't interest him. But man, when it's a topic that interests him and it's science, holy cow. So I asked him like the big question the other day. I was like, well, do you believe in God? Because, my wife's Christian, I'm atheist. Sure. So we're like, well, after everything, neither one of us has pushed anything on him or any hard, just kind of let him live. We're like, should there be a God? And he's like, yeah, I guess I believe in a God. I'm like, okay, cool. Why? And so he's like, but this is the greatest response ever. He goes, oh, because, thunder is created by Thor. And he's like, I believe in Thor. And I was like, and I started laughing. And I was like, no way. So it's like, I was like, do you know who Jesus is? And he's like, no. I said, I don't know who Jesus is. So you think Thor is God? And so I thought it was great. So I asked him the follow-up question. I said, okay, so wait a second. I was like, how does lightning work? And he told me, he's like, oh, it's particles in the atmosphere or whatever rub together, creating static electricity. And that static electricity goes to ground in the form of lightning. And it tries to take the path of least resistance. And I'm like, well, so why does there have to be a God to create lightning if you just explain that lightning just naturally occurs? And he goes, oh yeah, I guess I don't believe there's a God then. But he's putting it together like in his head, and he's like comprehending, like, wait, no, I do know how that works. So I don't need an explanation beyond it. Anyways, it was a proud moment for me because I was like just seeing the cogs turning of like how he thought about it and how he like worked his way through it. I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, this is so baller. I was so proud of him that he went through it. But to be clear, I mean, I told him to think about it longer than that. It's like whatever decision he makes and whatever he decides he wants to do, that's him and that's his personal journey. But I was like, I could not believe his like comprehension, not just retention of just a bunch of information from watching like and he watches a lot of science YouTube. Awesome. But I couldn't believe it wasn't just the retention, it was his comprehension that blew me away. Yeah. Like it's one thing to just remember a bunch of things you hear on TV, but like understanding how it works and being able to create situations and put the things together. I was like, dude, I was just like absolutely freaking blown away. I was like, so that was a super proud moment for me yesterday. So I'm fairly certain that my kid is going to be like the next Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's probably going to be a teacher of some kind because you can tell he loves explaining how things work. Oh my gosh, dude, like you get him going and he will not shut down. Like I said, we spent like an hour. It started out talking about lightning, and then we transitioned into power, and then power generation, and then we transitioned into astrophysics and biology, and we just started going down all these paths, and it was like he was kind of leading me into the areas he was interested in, and he'd segue flawlessly from one thing to another, and I'd ask him follow-up questions to see, do you actually understand what you're saying, or are you just like reciting? Because that's the thing that, you can do when you have photographic memories, recite things and not understand a damn thing. But no, he had the comprehension. And that's what blew my mind. I was like, dude, you're not just watching these shows and memorizing it. You know how it works and you understand how it works. Like engines in a car. I thought this was great. I just asked him, I was like, how does an engine in a car work? And he explained to me that it's like a bicycle and the pistons are like your foot on the pedal and the gasoline is the pressure that's building up, pushing the pedal down to turn the crank in the engine. And I was like, okay, so how does that work? And he's like, well, the air and the fuel come in to mix together. And he's like, when those mix together, that creates the big boom that then creates the pressure. And he explained to me that it was like a soda bottle. He's like, it's like, a soda bottle, if an explosion goes off inside of it with Mentos, it blows the top off. And he's like, well, the same thing happens in a piston. It just pushes the piston down instead of blowing the bottle. And I'm like, dude, you are absolutely 100% explaining how an engine works without saying anything about an engine. Like, you built a perfectly acceptable analogy to visualize how it's working. And I was just like, I mean, it's a dad moment. I get it. A lot of people are probably going to be like, that's not impressive. But for my 11-year-old kid that's been on the spectrum, that has struggled with a lot of things and everything, just to sit down and have this conversation with him and get this like coherent thought where he knows how things work. And if he doesn't know how stuff works, he asks. He wants to know. And then when you give him the little piece, he derives a bunch of other bigger pieces from it. I'm just like, dude, you are going to be a scientist, like through and through. Like this kid is going to change the world on some level. Not sure how yet. But one thing I did come out of it thinking yesterday is I need to teach this kid how to program.
Like, no there question. You go.
Like, he has demonstrated absolutely without a shadow of a doubt yesterday. I thought he still wasn't quite there, but he demonstrated yesterday with his thought process and everything. If I sit him down and start teaching him how to program, he's going to grasp it so freaking quick. And I'm going to have another little software developer on my hands. And who knows, maybe he'll create like Amazon 2.0 or something and buy me a boat.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that was one of those crazy dad moments, like, that you hear about. And it all came about just because I just asked him when he came in the room, because me and his mom were having like a conversation, about religion. And I was like, well, let's ask Sandra, because neither one of us push it. That's one thing that we've never done. Like, my wife's taken him to church like a handful of times, but never explained anything that was going on there. It was just to go there and hang out with people. And it was like, a chill church. And I've never really told him about my views, other than what he's heard me say in passing. So he didn't really have any programming. He didn't have any indoctrination. It was just him, answering a question. I was just, and I didn't say, do you believe in like the Bible or this? Or I just said, do you believe in God? And he's like, yeah, because Thor creates lightning. And I'm like, where'd you get that from? And it's like, because, he saw it on the internet in a video, and then he explained how lightning worked, and then immediately jumped to the conclusion that, we don't need a Thor. Like, nice. We actually don't need a Thor because we understand how lightning works. And it just, that snowballed into an entire conversation that went on for a long time. But it was a neat moment. It was definitely one of those moments I'll never forget, where it's like you have conversations with your kids and sometimes they're just like super typical. This was like an atypical one. This was like, I completely was blown away with like how interested he is in science. And not only was I proud, but I was like, you know what? I need to teach this kid how to program. Like, there is no excuse for this kid to not have a computer in his room now. Like, at age 11 and with this capability, I need to get him in front of a keyboard and a mouse and be like, dude, Visual Studio, let's go, man. Write me, next year, mark my words, I'm going to be like, hey, kid, I need you to write me a library. Write your old man a library for this device. and he's just going to go do it and upload it to GitHub and be like, all right, Dad, I'm done. Give me $20. It's like, I'm looking forward to that moment. That's going to be the coolest thing ever. Blasphemy, Thor is real. Thor, hey, he might be. Who knows? I also thought it was funny that when I asked him if he believed in God, he said he believed in Thor and the other gods.
That's great.
So he's basically like Norse mythology was like what he chose on his own.
I dig it.
And I never knew it. Like we never even thought of that like as a possibility, but no, with all the possibilities that he'd been presented with through his various YouTube kids and watching science and stuff like that, he came to the conclusion that Avengers is cool and having these like demigods and stuff like that was like the cool thing. And I was like, okay, that's neat. That's really, really neat that he came to that conclusion. Although he didn't know who Odin was, other than it was the name of one of his friends. Because yeah, he has a friend named Odin.
That's great.
He has a lot of science books, Justin. My son absolutely loves reading, and he has a lot of books on science. I wouldn't say anything that's like really high level, like it's stuff that's targeted at kids. But he watches a lot of science. Like he watches this show called Sum. It's like AUMSUM or something like that on YouTube Kids. Is that on your side or my side?
It's me. There's like every day part of some it must be like the wife or girlfriend of some of the construction guys across the street from me comes up and meet me in their fucking minivan, and it's like lunchtime, so it's like she's like bringing, on the one hand, like cool, bringing fucking grub or ice cream to the guys doing the windows or whatever, but it's legit. There's two. There's one, it's like somebody's got like a short bus, right? And they got like ice cream and sandwiches or something like that. It's not like a proper food truck. It's definitely like a sketchy sort of ice cream snack truck. And they do the same thing right around the same time. Meep, 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 like letting you know that they're coming through. It's just fucking dumb.
So they're like going to anywhere they see construction. They're like, oh, that's an opportunity to sell a bunch of stuff. So
the bus is definitely a business. Like they're making some money. The minivan has got to be somebody like they know somebody. And they come through here.
So they're just coming by and dropping off food for people.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. But
dude, you should go out there and get in on that, man. You should go out there.
It's blowing my mind that there isn't a proper food truck coming through here and posting up off in the back corner somewhere. They'd be making gang of money. They're going to be here for months, years. They're building so many freaking houses out here, and these guys aren't even done. Like, it's going to be here through the summer.
There's probably nobody that'll let them. Like you should like reach out to him and be like, dude, I'll let you park your shit in front of my house. Like
they hang out. The short bus at least will go further down to where like nobody lives yet. They're building like the framing and stuff, and they go post up where they know nobody's really parking. And man, they've got to be making stacks. And it's blowing my mind that there isn't like, there's somebody doing a proper, or even just further away. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to be close to the construction. You could go park yourself at there's plenty of like side parking and stuff where you'd be out of the way. I don't know.
Those food trucks make bank, dude.
So much,
absolute bank.
So much. I would love to do just hot dogs.
That's like the OG food truck though, right? Like just hot dogs. Like you got some boiling water and
I got two ideas. One is a twist on there's this one food truck dude. He does like it's grilled cheese, but it's like for $1, and it's just white bread and American cheese. You can't customize. There's no nothing. He doesn't make change.
So crank them out fast, buy in bulk, probably pay
doesn't even
like
make
10
change.
Cents a sandwich. Yeah,
he's got a big fucking thing about like here's the rules of my food truck. It's like grilled cheese.
It's like the soup Nazi.
White bread. Yeah, it's like white bread and cheese. They're $1. I don't give change. If you give me $5, you're getting 5 sandwiches. Like, and that's it. That's all he does. And like, I would love to do that sort of a thing where you just get a rack of like the Costco hot dogs and a big fucking rack of buns, and that's it. And it's ketchup and mustard. That's all I got.
Because even Costco does that, right? Even to this day, isn't it like $1.50 for like a hot dog and a drink or something like that?
So they're definitely losing a little bit of money on that, probably more on the labor side. Because like I went through when I was in California, I actually went through and if you get the same hot dogs that they sell at their cafeteria, with the same buns, the same hot dogs, you are making an individual is making a profit by selling them for I think you make a profit at $1.50. That's just pure, like you have enough to buy more with a little bit extra. So if you turn around and sell them for $2, a little bit more than Costco, but whatever, you can make more.
Well, you have to make that decision whether it's a volume game or because if, like the guy with the grilled cheese, right? Like if he can get a huge line out of his truck and he's spending like 30 seconds on each person's like money, cheese, money, cheese, money, cheese. Yeah. He's going to make a ton of money just purely on volume.
Yeah.
But if you're like more of like one of those niche trucks that's like you pay $15 for like a designer sandwich, it's because they're spending a lot more time and they're moving a lot less customers. They have to charge you a lot more to make the same money.
And so that's the second idea would be to do like a little bit fancier hot dogs, but you'd definitely be at a lower volume, but you're buying like the Nathan's, right? You get a Nathan's hot dog and you got to sell that for at least like $2.50 to $3 to break a profit. And man, dude, and not enough places. There is not enough hot dog places. I love a hot dog. I love hot dogs, sausages, all sorts of whatever. And not enough of those things around. I think it'd be great. I'd get a double-decker bus, park it someplace, and you buy the hot dogs from down below, and you can eat up top with tables and stuff on the top.
I bet you that the reason that you don't see a lot of people like doing that model is just because there's got to be like, I bet you the health department and the code and the licensing and all the shit that you have to do and inspectors and everything. I bet you it fucks that whole model up, and that's why you can't have like the super cheap move a lot of volume.
Actually, here in Washington, it's actually way way more flexible than it was in California. In California, you had to list
everything's fucked there, dude.
Like you had to list a proper kitchen and whatnot. Like you had to either have like and then that place would be inspected and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Here it's a lot easier to do like your classic cart based hot dog stand.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to be attached to like a physical location for your prep and cookery. You can just do it, bam, right there at the cart, and that's it.
There's so many good spots. Many good spots where you could put something like that and just kill.
Out here in this neighborhood, I'd clean up. If I should look into that. Anybody want to spot me like
right now? If
anybody want to spot me a couple grand for a cart, I would rake in the bucks. I'll get you back your money in less than a year.
If there was a hot dog guy that was like an ice cream truck, like it was the hot dog dude, and he literally just drove like up and down the streets of my neighborhood, I'd be out there buying a hot dog from just every day, just so I don't have to go make a freaking hot dog. Like, if it was like $1.50 and I could just run out and just boom, grab it, give him cash. You know, do a business where it's like NFC or cash. Like you swipe the damn thing or you give them money. There's no doing credit cards and signatures and stuff that slows you down. Just like have just pure volume model. You'd make a killing like literally in any neighborhood.
I think so.
Like, just because people would be like, oh, that's a convenient option. It doesn't cost a bunch. Like I could see if it was like a truck that was like, you know, $5 for like a little ice cream treat or like $15 for a sandwich. Well, then, you're going to have a hard time finding like customers that are going to come out unless you set up in an area and plan in advance. But if you're driving around selling something that's like $1.50, like a freaking hot dog and a soda, or $2 for a hot dog and a soda, and it's just like a quick transaction, like bing, bang, boom, dude, you're going to have just so many people just walking their dogs and walking down the street and stuff, just like stopping and getting it just because it's an impulse buy. Dude, you should do that, man. That's something that I bet you, though, when you investigate that, you're going to find out like the reason why not everybody's doing that.
I know I put quite a bit of effort into it when I was down in California. And like
and the neighborhood drama. I didn't think about that. Somebody made a good point. Like you're always going to have like the Karens and shit calling the cops like, this guy drives to my neighborhood and he's bringing down the cost of my land with his hot dog truck or something. Well, like, there's always going to be the Karens.
Fuck them. I'm halfway to it anyway, man. Some of these folk around here stink. They're just
we got shitheads around here too. Luckily, none of them live in my cul-de-sac though. That's one thing I do. It's like I've over the 18 years 19 years now I've lived here. I've had like a handful of people in this cul-de-sac that basically wanted to become my enemy.
Yeah.
And it always ended with them leaving, not me. Like I always made it like a point of fact to push them out. But now, unfortunately, we have people in the neighborhood over the new neighborhood. Well, it's been there for like 10 years, but the neighborhood that's like right over next to us, there's people over there. Anytime I start up my car, they'll fucking call the cops because my exhaust is too loud. And it just gets to the point now where like the cops, like they receive any call on my car, they just ignore it. They actually kind of like did me a favor. Now I drive by all the cops, they wave at me and shit. Like everybody knows who I am because I went down and they know what I do with the YouTube thing and everything for like anti-swatting. Yeah. And so I know them all. But it's like, it's annoying how many calls they get about stuff. Like, even if I like rev my engine, it's like, oh, we got a call, from your neighbor again. Oh, it's so stupid. Like, we just have to follow up on it, so they'll shut the fuck up. But it's wild, like how people like their entire life is just trying to rain down and control other people.
Right.
Like you can tell it like makes them hard. Like, it's like they're literally sitting there just like, like jerking it in the window, like to watching the cops come and hassle you because they don't like the color of your car or the way that you parked on the street, or like the lady that used to come by and put like these cryptic little notes on my garbage cans because she didn't like my garbage cans, and she, oh, you should use the garbage cans that are provided for you by the thing and bring your garbage cans up after this certain time. That was a long time ago. It hasn't happened ever since the what do they call it, the community thing, like where everybody has to follow the rules or you get fined and stuff. What is that called? Like community watch or neighborhood something?
Oh yeah, that kind of thing, like neighborhood watch kind of deal.
Yeah, it's like where you agree to certain things living in the neighborhood, but you didn't really agree to any of it. It's like the neighborhood just came together and decided one night that they're going to govern you. HOA, that's what it is. Homeowners Association. So I personally helped disband our HOA like 12 or 15 years ago.
Nice.
And that was like the happiest moment of my life because we had this like HOA Karen that would go house to house and literally walk up on your porch, go through your shit, put like cryptic notes on your door, make threats about fining you for stuff that they couldn't like that wasn't even in the HOA like bylaws or whatever that you get. Like there was nothing in there that said that, my can had to be like perfectly aligned with the street. There was no rule in there that said my can had to be so many feet from my own driveway and stuff like that. Like she would just enforce these like arbitrary laws and go around all the time. And I'd literally watch her and I'd just like crumple it up in front of her and throw it in the garbage can in front of her and then slam the door in her face. I hated that lady. I hated her so much. But yeah, she's gone now. She moved away and we dissolved the HOA. So now I can park my car on my lawn if I want to, because it's my lawn. I do what I want.
Another thing too, I've thought about, like, because I got to go and hit the lake. Just doing that. Like, I know you'd probably get a little finger wagging. Somebody complained to the cops for not having a license or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, I remember somebody like got around the finger wagging for selling food, right? Uh-huh. It's like, you actually buy the napkin, buy the paper towel for $2, and I'll give you a burger for free.
Oh, that's genius, actually. Because you're not selling food, and there's no law saying you can't give food away or offer.
Yeah, I can hand that shit out or you buy some paper towels from my teenager next to me, and I'll give you a burger for free.
Dude, that reminds me of like the workaround for like the prostitution laws or whatever. Bring a camera, because as long as you're recording it, it's with an intent to distribute. Yeah, it's fine.
Ask the prostitute, hey, would you be willing to do some nude photography?
Yeah, could you sign this release, please?
Cops will say no.
We do have some interesting like people that like we had kids that do the lemonade stands. Like, have you seen a modern lemonade stand? God. Like,
yes.
So have you seen them calling the cops
on kids
having a lemonade stand? That's happened like 3 times now in our neighborhood. I'm like,
that drives me nuts, man. Come on.
So
like, what are you worried that the kid is fucking poisoning somebody?
Yeah, it's like, what the hell? Like, just leave them alone.
Yeah, that's outrageous.
Yeah, the nice thing is, though, is luckily where I live, the police are actually pretty cool now. Like, they weren't back in the day, but now it's all, they've all the old timers that were like, super like abusing their powers and stuff. Those guys have moved on and retired. Now it's a bunch of like, kind of young go-getters, straight out of it, like they like cars, like people that actually like cars and like things and understand kids. Yeah. And so I've seen a couple times now where the cops will pull up to the lemonade stand because they get called, and when they get called a certain number of time, they have to come check it out, and they'll just come and check it out and they'll just walk away. They don't tell them they have to pack it up or move it away or anything. And I'm like, dude, that's cool. Good. Like, if you're a police officer, like, I get it. There's laws and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But you're talking about like kids learning how, like commerce and learning. There's a lot that you can learn from running like a little lemonade stand or doing something like that. And it's like, the people are going to get want to get lemonade from if it's free, if they pay and it's not expensive. I understand if it was like a lemonade stand, they would charge like $10 a lemonade, and it was like the mom and the dad and the kid wasn't doing anything and just sitting there. But all these lemonade stands I've gone by, it's like, there's not an adult in sight. It's just like, some kids and their neighbors, and they got a little sign hanging in front of their folding table, and they're just making some, Crystal Light lemonade and selling it for, like 40 or 50 cents a cup or whatever. And it's like, God, just let them have their fun.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Like, people where's the harm? Buy it. Like, where's the harm? Yeah, it's so dumb. Well, I understand. Like today with like COVID and everything like that, I can understand them being like a little bit more diligent. But at the same time, it's like, dude, come on. Like, they're just kids. They're out there having fun. They're they're pretending and running their little store and getting a little money on the side that they can do. And the funny thing is, they're not even like making that much money. It's like, I've seen some of these lemonade stands where they're like, it's like 50 cents and they got to provide the solo cup. They got to provide like the lemonade itself, and they're making everything. By the time they're done, they're like barely breaking even. Yeah. It's like, just let them have their fun. So yeah, if you're watching this right now and you're one of those Nancy's like running off every kid, just trying to run a little lemonade stand or have fun, come on, knock it off. Like, let kids be kids. It's not hurting you. It's like the people, they get like super mad. Like I used to, and I'll admit I did too. Like, I got mad because some kids like ran in my backyard once and literally got stuck down like a little valley pinned against the fence, and they're screaming in my backyard, and I had to go out and basically like rescue the neighbor's kids because they got stuck behind the house. And I was kind of like mad about that. But then I was thinking about it, and it's like, so what if the kids like come and like play, toss the ball or whatever back and forth next to my house in my yard? What is it hurting if, like I've walked out before and it's like, there's a kid sitting in my yard with like his dog, right? Because he's walking down the street and he wanted some shade and there was a tree and he gets in front of it. It's like, he's not hurting anything. As long as they're not doing any damage and they're not intentionally doing anything bad, it's like, just don't be mean. Like, they're kids. And that drives me nuts now and I guess it's one of those things where it's like, I didn't really understand it until I was a dad myself and I had kids, it's like, I guess before that, I was even kind of that person a little bit. So get away from my car, like don't be playing next to my car. Or, I'd see kids doing, I go out and like mad dog them while they're playing basketball. Like, that ball better not touch my car or whatever. And it's like, they're not trying to hurt anything. They're not intentionally trying to be disrespectful or damage any property. They're just trying to have some fun. And to be honest, they're staying out of trouble. They really are. Like I'd rather have the kid like in my yard tossing the ball back and forth than like have to go downtown to some strange park like in the dark just so they're not bothering anybody. And now like predators are like chasing them down and hurting them. It's like, oh, so sorry about that little rant, but it's like, come on, summertime's coming. By the way, summertime, holy shit. Do you see what the temperature is supposed to be tomorrow?
A lot.
106
and Monday too.
Degrees.
Yeah.
In Washington.
Ugh.
I have 3 ACs going. I got my AC in the window behind me, and I can tell you right now, it's already humid as fuck in here. Like it's normally not this humid and hot with the AC going full blast. So I have a feeling that tomorrow I'm not even going to be able to be in this room.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to that. And it's going to be a humid heat too, which is the worst. It's going to be 106 degrees and humid. Oh man. So what are your plans for the day?
I'm gonna go to the lake.
Also, okay, so you're serious about that. What are you going to do? Some swimming, boating? What are you doing?
Yeah, just swimming, just hanging out with the girls there.
Just going and cooling down. How hot is it outside right now? Let me look here. It's here. I mean, it's my AC. Oh my god, it's 94 degrees right now, and it's just almost 1. Wow,
it's 90 here,
dude. It's supposed to hit 101, and then
yeah.
No, that cannot be right.
I'm seeing 108 tomorrow, 112 Monday.
That there is no freaking way.
No, it totally will.
Dude, I'm showing on my town 114 on predicted for Monday.
Yep.
114 degrees. Dude, I think the record for Washington like in the 60s was 118 for one day. This is 2 degrees away from that. Dude, oh my god. I will die. Dude, I thought 106 was like the highest they could possibly get. I didn't look another day out.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. And I have actually I just partly motivated by this current, whatever, this heat wave that's happening. Mm-hmm. The builders like accidentally put in the hook 'em ups for central air, right? You put the big box outside kind of thing.
Yep.
And that would have been a very expensive add-on had we asked for it, but they just
it's like 10
they did it by accident.
Yeah.
They did it just on a whim, like, hey, we're just gonna do this. I guess nobody's reading the paperwork or whatever. Yeah. So we're actually a friend of Alicia's her husband, a friend of my fiance, her husband does that sort of work, does HVAC stuff. And so we want to talk to him about what it's going to cost to have one installed. Cause like, it's just a bunch of pipes and shit sticking out of the side of the wall.
Yep.
And so we're thinking it's probably $2,500 or something. Cause like, I imagine the hard part is the hook.
This is like for a whole house AC, right?
I believe so. I think, yeah. It's supposed
just
to
the pump alone. Just the pump alone is going to be $4,000 to $5,000. Just for the AC.
Oh,
dude, my neighbor just had not 2 years ago, he had AC added to his furnace.
Yeah.
And just to put the thing outside, the thing on the pad. Yeah. It's like the heat exchanger or whatever for the AC unit.
Yeah.
And then they run the pipes in and then they lift up the furnace and put like a coil pack thing under it that's got like the cold coils or whatever.
Yeah.
Just to do that was $8,900. Now, granted, he didn't have a friend or anything. That was like, but he got quotes and that was the cheapest quote. And it took him 2 days to do the install. And it was like, I think it was like $8,900 or something. It's shy of $9,000. And I was like, holy shit. So then I was like, oh, how much would it cost for me to do AC in my house? Because it's a smaller house than his, right? So I asked the dude and he came over and he's like, oh yeah, we could do the same thing. We have to put the pad out here or whatever. He's like, oh yeah, it'll probably be like right around $8,000. And I'm like, $8,000? And he's like, oh, but for 10 we can also do the heat pump too, so that we can like switch your whole system over if you don't want to do gas anymore and just do like electric heat too. And I was like, fucking way, dude.
Yeah, that seems a lot, man.
So why is it so expensive here? Because I know other people, so somebody said $15,000 easy for an AC. The whole house AC is stupid expensive.
That would be like if they had to do the ducting and everything else. Like we have central air already. Like it's the furnace and stuff, all pipes. It's like ready to go. All they got to do is put the box outside, plug it in. Like,
well, no, you still need my condenser coils under the furnace though, where they have to jack the whole furnace up and put the condenser coil pack under it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what all.
That's the expensive one because that's like a giant freaking copper box or whatever, and that thing costs $1 bajillion too.
from what I understand, the major part of the cost is putting in those pipes and wires that I got sticking out of the wall.
Well, people keep asking me why I have so many windows, because I have a bunch of window ACs. Like I have one in here, I have one down the living room, one in the bedroom. The main reason is because I can't maintain the temperatures in those rooms at the same number using one central thermostat, the way my house is, piped. So that's why. But the other reason is because I went and priced a split level. You know how much they want to install split level? Just one of those ones that has like the thing up on the ceiling, and then the pipes go out to a little pad with a little pump outside. And it's just like one AC.
Yeah.
They want to charge me $5,000.
That's insane.
$5,000 to do.
That's
and they said they could put one in the bedroom and one up here. And I was like, well, how much just to do the nerd cave? And they're like, oh, that would be probably about $800 cheaper. I was like, wait. So I only get $800 off by getting 50% of like the AC or whatever. He's like, oh, the most expensive part is because we have to run all the pipes down from the second floor down to the thing, then out away from the house behind the shed and pour a pad and put the pump on there and then run the electrical and do all the electrical wiring and stuff. But I'm like, dude, how? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I can buy a Windows AC for like $500, like a really nice one.
Yeah.
For $500 and stick it in the window, and it does like 80% of what I want. Like, who's buying these split? Well, unless they're installing them themselves. I'm guessing there probably are some places where the split thing can be installed very cheaply because it's like ground floor and you got a pad already that you can put the thing on and power's already right there. But in my case, I don't have any of those things. So it all has to be wired like from the panel, a new circuit. They have to dig a ditch and bury a line and then do the pad. And then once you factor in like all that stuff and all the labor to do all that, then the price just like quadruples.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, screw it. I'll just have a window unit over here making a little bit more noise. Because the reason I wanted the split one is because they don't make noise. All this is a super quiet fan. All the meats and all that stuff's happening out behind your shed.
Right.
But just way too expensive, dude. Way too expensive. All right, guys. Well, I think because we're looking at a balls ass hot day today, followed by tomorrow getting hotter and Monday even. I don't even know if I'll be able to stream on Monday, dude. I don't think my AC can combat 115 degrees in the second floor of my house. Like, I don't think that's possible. So we'll see. I'll play. Yeah. That's nuts.
I want to touch on this. James Janis asks, what's your guys' stance on content censorship on Twitch, YouTube in terms of what's allowed? And basically to a point that fart too loud, you get banned or video deleted. No, I'm sorry. That is have
you watched my stream?
grossly over exaggeration of and misuse of the word censorship. Okay. First off, you agreed to terms of service. Yes, those terms of service may change on occasion, but they update and tell you when those changes occur. And when you find some sort of meta that skirts the rules, by all means, good on you. I love subverting authority. Love it to death. But when you get caught, when they change the rules because you've subverted their authority, you don't get to cry about it. God bless America. It's the same kind of crap that people whine about on Twitter about, oh, they're silencing me. No, it's a private platform. You agreed to the rules when you signed up.
Their rules.
When you don't follow the rules, you get kicked off the platform. That is your fault. Don't complain when you didn't read the rules. Sorry.
And the truth is, actually, Twitch lets you get away with like quite a bit. They really do.
I'm all for it. You want to lie around in a hot tub and make money shaking your ass on the internet, go for it. I don't care what kind of content you create. What I do care about is when you complain and cry censorship when you don't follow the rules.
Absolutely.
You agreed to the rules when you signed up. If they change the rules, you know about it. Vague rules, though. Now, that's another part of this coin, too. Inconsistent application and inconsistent punishments for breaking the rules.
That part I don't like.
Uncool. I don't like that. You make the rules, you follow the rules, and everybody should have the rules applied to them equally. That shit is bullshit. I hate that. I don't appreciate that you got people, I'm not going to name names, but you can fill in the blank. That's fine. You know who I'm talking about. When there are consistent bans for the same breaking of the rules, and they come back in 3, 4, 5 days a week, whatever the fuck. Uncool. That is bullshit.
Yeah, and I will give him that part, like not the censorship, but the fact that Twitch does actually like apply the rules in a way ununiform way.
Oh, 100%.
Like I've seen them literally just boot people off for doing like next to fucking nothing because they have like 5 viewers and they're like, oh, this person's not making us any money. And then you got people like fucking like abusing their cat, and titties slipping out every 5 seconds, and they're like, oh, 24-hour ban or temporary or slap on the wrist or. In one case, they even like had to punish themselves because Twitch wouldn't even do it, and they knew that the community was going to get mad, so they just like self-punished themselves by not streaming for 24 hours. And it's like, okay, that's not uniform application. Like that part's bullshit. I'll give you that all day long.
Uncool. That part's not cool. But I don't appreciate people complaining, oh, the booby streamers are stealing my views. No.
They're not.
The people who watch that kind of content aren't going to come and watch you play Warzone, bud. Sorry. I don't care how good you are, but the people who want to watch titty streamers, which I don't appreciate that term either, but the people who watch that kind of content are not going to watch you play League of Legends or whatever the fuck it is you're doing. They're not stealing your views because you're not producing content that those sort of people want to watch.
Yeah, another thing that I can tell you, absolutely.
You see Jerry and I complaining about how, I don't know, naked yoga on fucking YouTube is stealing our views. No, we're not producing naked yoga content. None of y'all want to see that shit. I'm sorry. I know I'm cussing a little more than I normally do, and I know
it's YouTube. Get it off. But I like seeing you riled up every once in a while.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You are not producing the content that they want to see, so they aren't your target market. Don't complain when people aren't watching. They'd be like, man.
I like seeing. I like seeing this. This is fun.
It'd be like, it's like,
let the hate.
It's like Disney. If Disney came out and was like complaining about I don't know, Disney owns fucking everything now, so it's hard to find
I know.
It's
like hard. I was like, you picked the wrong one to try to analogize.
It'd be I don't know, a cartoon, right? Maybe you make cartoons and you're complaining about snuff films. I don't know, whatever, right? They're different markets, right?
Yeah.
You can't. That they're not stealing your views because you are not targeting those people. So they are not. Now, there might be a slight argument if Cleavage Gal is also playing Warzone and is at a similar skill level to you. That might be stealing your views, maybe. But again, not the same target market, right? The people who want to watch Big Booby Gal play Warzone are not going to tune into your stream to begin with. They aren't looking for that content. Don't complain. Do better.
The other thing too is like, why get mad at somebody just because you're not willing to take it to that level? Like that's the thing is like, run what you brung, right? Like if you're a funny person, be a funny person. If you look a certain way and people like that, they gravitate to you for that, fucking run what you brung as long as it's within the rules. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from playing Warzone wearing a banana hammock and getting yourself a bunch of like French Canadian bears watching you throw down. Like there's no reason. You just don't do that because that's not something that interests you or something that you want to do. So they want to do that. They like the results. They like the attention. As long as it's within the rules, let them do it. The other thing too is if you think they're stealing your views, I don't know. Obviously, everybody in here has watched porn. You don't watch porn like for like 3 hours to get the story and like understand the nuances of the characters. You do what you're going to do. Well, I mean,
there was that Pirates of the Caribbean series.
That was good. That was actually legit,
top quality. Like it was porn for sure, but like it was actually good filmmaking too. So
it was. The special effects were actually on point too for the time.
I digress.
but the point being there is that people may go and watch it because it's like, you know, that's the initial grab. But a lot of the people gravitate to it because they just like hanging out and they like the personality of the streamer, or they like what the streamer's doing, or they're into whatever they're doing. It's what I'm saying is there's certain gimmicks that just wear out, right? That just they don't last forever. The person might come for the gimmick, but they stay for everything else. Yeah, so they're not stealing your views, dude, long term. Even if they're gone for 15 minutes, they'll eventually come back if they're dull.
The meta changed anyway. The hot tub streamers noticed that their viewership was going down, the ad revenue and stuff went away. They got pushed into a different category. So they moved to ASMR where it's different. And they started like that kind of shit
sucking on their
and got in trouble for that too, because it was clearly sexual content, sexually aimed content. And you couldn't argue that it's not. You could have your ass hanging out while you're making dick sucking noises into the microphone. Like, and a couple big names got banned for it. Yeah, it's fake. They broke the rules. I do agree. James. They should tell you why you got banned. What content?
Absolutely.
This clip. Here's a clip of what you did wrong. Boom. I 100% agree with that. Absolutely. Also, there was another comment here. Doges.
Oh, I think I saw that one.
There are plenty of streamer platforms for pornographic content. It doesn't belong on Twitch and was never intended for it, so I don't know why people complain. First off, platforms evolve. Okay?
Yep.
Yes. I mean, you want to rewind that tape far enough. Justin TV was just following a dude around. That was like his day or whatever. Like it was just following a dude around.
Also, Twitch has an 18 plus. You can check an 18 plus thing on Twitch. So
sure, you can
say that
mark your stream is mature. Yeah,
you can have a mature stream. Now, granted, I get the whole thing of like crossing the line into like pornography. Obviously, you can't do a Twitch stream. It's against the rule. Like spread eagles shooting ping pong balls. Right. Like no, that they do have that limit. But to say that like adult content doesn't belong on Twitch would be incorrect because you can't have a mature stream. We talk about a lot of mature topics on my show, like lots of them all the time. Yeah. So, and just because you think something may be of a pornographic nature, well, there's also people that think just seeing a foot is porno. There's people that seeing somebody's hair is porno. There's like different fetishes and everything. Something is always going to be that way. So you have to go by the rules. Whatever the rules the platform decides on, those are the rules you agree to. And those rules are subject to change and can change over time. So you got to move with them too.
We are right on the cusp of a similar thing that happened on YouTube, the adpocalypse thing right on YouTube. Mm-hmm. We're right on the cusp of that with Twitch. Twitch should have seen it coming 4 years ago or whatever when the whole adpocalypse thing was going down. They should have known that it would have started targeting them too. DMCA stuff from music. They should have known. They should have been working on it years
ago. They knew. Of
course they did. Of course, you know that they've been talking about that in fucking conference rooms for decades or 100%. For years at least, and they just ignored it. They didn't want to. Now that Twitch is actually going to be held responsible for not doing things, there's no safe haven. Twitch is not a safe haven sort of platform, right? Twitch themselves will be held responsible for the streamers, for them not doing enough to keep live streamers from copyright violations. That's part of what happened with YouTube and why they were coming down on that sort of stuff too.
Yeah,
you're going to see more of that. Go ahead.
Did you see something? Gosh, I can't remember the name, but I got a bookmark somewhere because I actually found it hugely intriguing. There's a site that does live streaming for gaming, but it's adult content and gaming. So it's basically just naked people playing video games.
Great.
And somebody sent me a link to it. And it's funny. I don't know how they're still in business because they only have like the most I ever saw was 8 people streaming simultaneously on the entire site-wide, only 8 people. But I was like, I found it like hugely entertaining because they merged those genres that you don't see on either side, right? They found that middle ground. And I think it's just most people don't know what it's called. And I can't even remember the damn name of it because it's a terrible name for what it is. But yeah, that's what it was. Plexstorm. That's right. It's called Plexstorm. And it doesn't sound like it'd be that, but dude, it's like literally people just like naked playing video games. And I was like, this is genius. It's literally like,
yeah.
But the problem is they don't have enough attention. People are like, oh, why are they on? That's another thing. Why are they on Twitch when they could be on another site? Because that's where everybody is. That's where the money's at.
Yeah,
that's where the audience is. That's where you get the most. Like, yeah, there's a site that you can do everything on. Why are you on YouTube when you could go be on Vimeo? Like you want to be where the people are, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why the people on Twitch go there. Now, Twitch also put some rules in place. Like you're not allowed to advertise like OnlyFans and stuff like that. Like they're pretty hard, and that's written into the rules because they don't want people coming over to Twitch and using it as a vehicle to lure people to other platforms that circumvent their rules. But it still doesn't mean that the people can't get curious and go look for it and find it anyways. So there's still a benefit for them being there on Twitch so that they can see them. And if they have the same name in both places, people are obviously going to find them. Yeah. So yeah, there are platforms for other things, but to deny somebody a platform, like just because you make adult content doesn't mean you shouldn't be allowed to be on a platform that doesn't do adult content and still have a presence there and still interact as long as it's within the rules.
There's some crazy shit, man. There's a dude with like his.
Oh, is it? I haven't checked today. Let's see here.
His fucking. He's got a cam like where your nut fan would be. It's a camera. Wow. And I mean, there's like,
oh girls, yeah, dude. He's got the guy that's got like he's got like a furry hat on.
Yeah, that's the one I'm seeing. It's horrible. Like, not my content, but you know what? Dude's got some viewers. He's got 8 people watching him with his man.
That guy's got it in spades, dude.
I'd crush this dude. I'm way fuzzier than that guy.
Like, oh man, you could give him a run. All right. Well, I'm more like a swimmer's body, but I'll head over here one time. This is my end game, by the way. Plexstorm is my end game.
I'm surprised that. I mean, there's only, like you said, like a dozen people actually streaming.
This is the most I've ever seen on the site right now.
I'm surprised that there's a good, I don't know, at least half of them are dudes.
Yeah.
Like Right on.
And the top streamer on the platform has 107 live viewers right now, but the next highest is only 14. But I saw one night when they gave me the link and I came here, at least the top 4 or 5 channels had at least 60 to 100 viewers. So it's like you can tell it's kind of a small community. I don't know how long it's been around, but the cool thing is like you can play adult games. Like I saw somebody on here the other night that was playing genital jousting. Like you can't even play that on Twitch. It's a banned game on Twitch. So they're like playing that over there. And you don't have to be naked. It's just anything of an adult content they welcome on there. And I was like, that is a great combination. But problem is not enough people are on the platform. So that's why you don't see people like, what is it, like Alinity or whatever. What's the other?
Amaranth,
you don't see those, Amaranth and stuff. They'd move to this platform if there was enough people there. Yeah. Because this would suit what they're doing and they'd make way more money doing it if the audience was there. But unfortunately, it isn't there. So they go to the platform where they can get like 10 or 20,000 people that are tipping bits and stuff like that. And then they just go watch their content. You know, if they want the adult version of their content, they just go somewhere else and watch it. But they like hanging out with them there. Whereas if this platform had that same amount of audience, this would be way better for their model. Yeah. Like this. But that's the thing is, it's like you got to go where the people are. You have to. Like otherwise, nobody's going to know who the hell you are or what you do.
Crazy. You know what? Good for them.
Yeah.
See,
there's some interesting stuff on here though. There was a person on here the other night. I was actually, this is pretty good. Like they were playing what was it? Among Us.
Sure.
They were playing Among Us and they had like 6 other like naked people, like all playing Among Us. And as they're playing Among Us, they all have like their little mini cams or whatever, where they're basically just sitting at the computer naked, which on a hot 114-degree day, why not? Right. And people were just in there, just like vibing with them, like sending them the little tips and stuff like that and spinning a little wheel. It's like, okay, I want you to like go and out this imposter and, you know, voting for what they're doing. A lot of like what they do on Twitch, but it's just the only difference is it's like adult content. So I'm surprised this hasn't blown up, actually, to be honest. Like it blew my mind that there's still this few people on this platform. Like, you know what? I'm just going to create an account on this platform and just start streaming. Like, because you don't have to, I don't think you have to do anything. Like I think it's it's more open than Twitch,
switch,
right?
There's a switch even that says SFW if you want.
Oh, so yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll create an account over here and people will be like, what the hell's Barnacules doing on Plexstorm? But could you have had a worse name, dude? Does Plexstorm tell you anything about like what the site does?
Well, does Twitch?
I mean, it does get you angry until you're twitching. So no, but you're right. It's weird. It's like I just don't know how this hasn't. Somebody said it was around since 2018. Like, how the hell are they still in business if they only have like, you know, 10 streamers? I don't know. I think it's a cool idea though. I think it's a cool as hell idea. And maybe instead of complaining about the people being on Twitch, maybe you should make them aware that this site exists as an alternative and they can try doing both of them. And at one point, if that site takes off and gets enough viewers and everybody migrates over there, then hey, problem solved.
Yeah.
All right. Well, dude, I'm gonna wrap it up so you can get out of here because it's hotter than balls and you need to go swim around in the lake. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out on Tech Talk today. We had an absolute amazing time. Thank you to David, who's offline now, for joining us for a little over an hour at the beginning of the stream. We really enjoyed that, but he had to go do some adult thing. Huge thanks to everybody that super chatted. You guys are the ones that keep us able to keep doing this and getting paid so that we can use that money to pay for electricity for our air conditioning. And we're going to try not to die over the next couple days. And if we somehow survive, I will see you again on Monday over on Twitch. And you can find AuxxZillary when he does his streams. All the links are in the video description. Also for David Hewlett, all his streams with Tech Banditry and all that. Make sure you go follow and sub and hassle him over on the Twitter sphere. And we will see you guys again next week, 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here, Barnacules Nerdgasm YouTube channel for Tech Talk. And if you guys ever have topics, as usual, come over and hit us up with a link and what topics you want covered over on Twitter and just tag us all. And we'll work it into the show if it's something really cool. All right, peace out, guys. You've been amazing. Now I got to figure out how to go survive this heat wave.
Yeah.
Later.